rocks on the speed bag. Every out under pressure, no jet lag. This is greater than trophies and saluted flags. Titles of fame, the cost is paid. Yay, I carried the cross I made. Dealt with the dealer. Baby, the hand was played. New level, next stage. Learn to lead it to legend. Now tell me what's my next stage. Yay. I said the champ is here. Switch gears. We keeping haters in the rear. After blood, sweat, and tears, and my goal so near. I see my bucket so clear. And today, we break through. 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 For the victory lap, though. Whoa, whoa. They ain't never seen nothing like this before. Lit the room when I came through the front door. Ask me if I should overcome. What for? Train in the trees, please pardon my sycamore. Touch burning sands, cross lands, and stormy shore.
What's going on, everybody? There we go. Let me go ahead and pull it up. Sprague, go ahead and give me a quick mic check for everybody here.
Mic check.
There we go, Steve.
Hey, everybody. One,
hey,
2, 3.
You love it when it works on the first try. What's going on, everybody? I love it. We already got people pouring in, and the link's not even up on Blazers Edge yet. You love to see it.
Beautiful.
I'm working on that link right now on Blazers Edge. Don't worry.
You're fine, dude. It's nice. Jalen Green will go number 2 as expected. It's kind of funny. All of the don't spoil the stuff. Everybody's throwing that out the window. Haynes, Shams, Woj, all tweeting out picks before the picks are in. Excuse me. So while we're waiting for that one to go up, Sprague, for anybody who doesn't know, Sprague, 1080 The Fan, 6 to 9 in the morning, host Dirt and Sprague. Do you expect anything crazy here for Portland overall tonight?
I don't expect anything crazy. We joked about it today. Like, we're going to walk away, and tomorrow we'll talk about how we have a second-round draft pick, and it's a white kid from Gonzaga. Somehow that's not Pittsburgh. And we'll talk about how he's a fundamental player and he knows what he's doing.
Real grinder?
Yeah, he's a grinder. He's a gym rat, right? But I'd love to be wrong. I want nothing more to be wrong. I want Neil Olshey to shock the living hell out of me. I'd love to have Ben Simmons. I'd love to get Bradley Beal. I'd love to get the 4th pick. Whatever you want to do that's big, I would love it. And I'd have no problem saying, yeah, I was wrong. Neil Olshey made a big move. But what evidence is there to suggest that they're going to do that?
There's 9 years of not.
Right. So if this was a scientific study, what would we say?
Yeah, no. All results point to no. You can shake your magic 8 ball all you want, but I don't think it's going to be an option. For everybody that's just kind of pouring in, give us a few minutes. We'll have the link up on Blazers Edge.
We're live.
We are live now. I will go ahead and tweet out that link here. Shout out TweetDeck. Let me move my mic. It's so much easier.
I'm glad they've accepted the fact that they can ruin the draft, because I bet you they've done studies that say when they ruin it, people don't stop watching. So just be live on social and just keep watching.
Yeah.
The NBA is usually pretty smart about that.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't surprise me at all, if I'm being totally
honest. I really like the look of their stage and everything. It's clean.
I think they went all out because it's post-COVID, right?
Yeah.
That's – I think it's a nice play. Steve, you're the draft guy.
Yep.
Through and through. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. I love it. You live it even more than I do, especially recently. Initial thoughts on Cade. What do you think realistically his ceiling is going to be in Detroit?
I think for me, this is a comparison I've come back to in the last couple weeks. Is I think he's what you want Ben Simmons to be versatility wise, but has that offense, has a bunch of marketable skills, has that towering floor general mentality. I think he changes the trajectory of your franchise more so than we expected the picks to last year. I think this is a much better top four, even though, yes, LaMelo had a great year with Charlotte, but I think this is a totally different direction as far as the top of this draft goes. I think this is the blue chip prospects we've come to expect in most recent years, and I think Cade Cunningham is that. I'm really interested to see how it goes in Detroit. There's a lot of work to be done there.
They've already made a move to clear some space.
Yep.
They dumped off Mason Plumlee. Plum Dog still getting checks, baby. You love to see it.
Back to Portland.
Yeah. One of the few Blazers that leaves Portland and gets, a second and even a third contract after he leaves. So,
Listen, he's a real player's coach or a real coach's player, real grinder, heady, gym rat.
Hey, Steve, let me ask you this though. Like everything you're saying about Cade, man, like he was really fun to watch in college. Is the most underrated thing about him though that he wants to be in Detroit? Like who wants to be in Detroit?
Yeah, I was weird to see him really embrace that, especially after the last couple of years where we saw players kind of spar to avoid, going to Minnesota and trying to avoid those type of situations. There was none of that. And if you're going to avoid a situation, Detroit, I would imagine, is probably pretty high on the list with that Pistons team. So it was interesting to see him there, but he said all the right things through the process. High on the list with that. I think there was some smoke screens that we're seeing, right after that top pick that I just never took hold, because I think Cade Cunningham really, when you're looking at the classes of this draft, it really is tier one. Then we take a step back, and then we have this second group where, for me, a guy we're going to probably talk a lot about tonight is Evan Mobley, mainly because Dan, USC guy in here, but really I have fallen in love with his game. Went back and watched a lot of the Pac-12 competitions,
which is hard to watch.
Yeah, it is very hard to watch. So maybe when they're in the Big Ten or SEC here real soon, those games will get a little better. But so we'll see.
Evan Mobley, man, that's the guy I like. I mean, I know sounds like we all three love him, and I know Danny, you're a USC guy, but
I think Mobley's the best player in the draft. And so I told Steve that a while back. I genuinely think he's Chris Bosh with a handle. Like you don't see he's a legit 7-footer who can run the floor like a deer. I can't remember the last time I saw a guy his size move like he does, and that's before he ever gets on the ball. He puts the ball down, and you're like, that's not normal. That's not supposed to happen. Like, he puts the guy that he reminds me of, I'll be honest, is playing on the Olympic team right now, and he's just 5 inches shorter, and that's Jeremy Grant. The way he moves, the way he kind of glides, just slaloms through, just slithers, and it's not because he's like, light of frame or a lithe. He just kind of gets around guys, and he ticks every box. You look at him, you're like, well, he's a big guy. Can he create? And you're like, yeah, he's the best passing big man to come out in the draft in probably 15 years. When you're talking about like high profile guys. Now, Jokic obviously profile better further down the line, but you aren't looking at top bigs that can create like this. This doesn't happen. And you're like, well, is he a good defender? Yes, he's probably the best big man defender that we've had. God, I can't go Duncan. That's too far. Bosh, maybe. Profiling out, and you're like, well, can he shoot? And you're like, yeah, inside the 3-point line, he looks really good. Outside the 3-point line, there just isn't a ton of attempts there. I think you can project that he'll be a good shooter because he's demonstrated from the free throw line and from a mid-range jumper. So he ticks all the boxes.
He first of all, we got the first easy leader in the clubhouse that I think is going to win the award. Jalen Green's got the worst suit of the draft. It's not even close. I don't know what he's doing with this bedazzled situation, but it's awful.
Yeah, and it's the stripes in it. Like, it's one thing to go bedazzled, but it's like pinstripe bedazzled.
And it like fits him weird. It doesn't fit him well for his body type.
I mean, it's not 2003. So,
well, but that was a moment. That wasn't like a choice to be that bad, though. That was I was wearing baggy pants. You know what I mean? Like that was a moment.
it's definitely different. Mobley's going to go here, and so I've got some good friends in Cleveland that I've been talking to throughout this entire process.
Yeah.
Barring somebody giving them the world, they have wanted Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley was number 1 on their board. They have wanted.
Why is Oklahoma City not giving him the world?
I don't know.
What did we do? You have 95 picks. You're not going to hit on like 70% of those. Give them up.
I think they're trying to load up. I think they're going to see what they can get this year. Find the defensive guy, whether it be Barnes, whether it be Kuminga, whether it's Book Knight. They may go, hey, listen, we've got Shea. He can drive and kick. He's a hell of a player. We need a little more shooting. They take a look at Book Knight. I know New Orleans covets him. New Orleans wants to get up there. Part of the reason to move up to 10 was to get up to get Book Knight. I don't know if they'll have enough to get there, but OKC's probably looking at that going, listen, we've got some project bigs. We got Pokashevsky. We've got Moses. We've got some guys that can we'll figure some things out, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they're waiting for next year to strike.
I mean, you wait too long, though, man. What are you going to miss out on?
You become the Portland Trailblazers.
Well, I think I mean to a lesser degree, I think
go there.
I think you become the Magic West, and you have a bunch of these big guys that you don't really know what they do.
Yeah.
And I really expected OKC to really try to move up, especially now that there was a lot of buzz that Scotty Barnes is not going to be there at 6.
Yeah.
So
you mean the most magic ass player you've ever seen in your entire life?
I mean, he was this size when he was at the Les Schwab Invitational in Hillsborough 2 years ago. And I just remember going there, and I went to watch Vernon Carey Jr., and I came away a believer of Scotty Barnes.
Yeah.
And I really just don't, like Brandon alluded to, I don't see why you don't put all those picks on the table to move up. I mean, that's why you have them. Those are leverage. The second you use a first-round pick, and it's not a top 5 pick, they immediately start losing value. So why not put them on the table, move up there, get a guy who can change the trajectory of your team, because otherwise, you're going to end up with Jonathan Kuminga, Poku. You're going to end up with a bunch of these
projects,
odds and ends that, none of them might pan out. And you're decreasing that when you're putting them all at the same position with the same holes in their game.
Steve, if I took all 30 general managers and I wiped the slate clean for all of them, and I said, your choice is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Evan Mobley, or Shea Gilgeous-Alexander,
or the field,
and everybody else. Like, how many GMs are saying yes to the first option? All of them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You've got a front and back end that you would be very tough to build better.
And two guys that can be on the floor in every situation.
And look at that suit from Evan. Woo!
Okay, that's a fire suit.
Little mint green accent. Okay.
I like it.
Okay, young man. We'll talk about Mobley, the god from USC, here a little bit more, but it is official from Woj. The Lakers and Wizards have agreed on a trade for Russell Westbrook. So I had heard that this might happen a couple days ago, and it was hard for me to fathom the Lakers tying $120 million up in 3 guys, one of which, the only shooter in Anthony Davis, is only played 300 games, I think, in the last 4 years. 5 years. I think it might be 5 years. He's missed a lot of time. They're going to need to figure this out with shooting. But this is what it turns into. The Wizards have agreed to trade Russell Westbrook, a 2024 second, a 2028 second, for Kuzma, KCP, Montrezl Harrell, and number 22. Who wins this trade, first thought? Is it the Wizards or is it the Lakers?
Don't you have to go? You have to go asset evaluation, right? And while Russ can't shoot, I still think they're going to get a bunch of dudes that can for the super cheap. You're getting Russ, AD, and LeBron right now versus Bradley Beal and bums. I'm going to take LeBron James every single time.
I think this is kind of the opposite of the Pelicans Grizzlies trade that we saw where, potentially both teams won. I think there's an argument where both teams could have lost this trade. I'm not going to roast the Lakers on this trade because I do think Russell Westbrook addresses something that burned them this year. I think the main reason they were out of the playoffs so early is they had to play the
additional creation,
and they had to, enter that playoffs as a low seed. Now, Russell Westbrook, he might not be great in the playoffs. You can play him off the floor. You can dare him to shoot. And what does he do when he doesn't have the ball? But in the regular season, even if LeBron and AD have to take time out, you can put Russell Westbrook in there. He can get a bunch of stats against these bad teams in the Western Conference, and he can keep you in the top 4, even if your top 2 guys miss a bunch of time. So I actually don't hate this move for the Lakers as far as the regular season goes.
I know they need the creation. I know they need it. Indiana has moved up to 31st, which is essentially a second first-round pick for them from Milwaukee, which is kind of interesting. So let's see what comes out of that. Toronto is selecting Scotty Barnes at number 4. Did not see that coming.
No.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
And if that is the case, Siakam is probably on his way out, which is what I had heard.
Siakam's gone.
Yeah. So something happened there. Obviously, Nurse benched him, and I heard things weren't great. And I didn't think it was going to be this kind of situation, but that's a big move. Barnes, Orlando's got to be pissed right now. I definitely did not see that coming.
Holy moly. Where's Siakam going?
So
they need a CJ McCollum?
No, from what I have heard, it's Philadelphia. So
is Siakam and Embiid? I mean, I guess can you get Lowry?
Yes.
You get Lowry.
Lowry, Siakam, and 4.
Lowry, Siakam, and Embiid. God, that's a good position to be in.
With Harris.
Oh my gosh.
So I think you're kind of playing either Harris or Siakam out of position is kind of weird. We'll take a quick second here. Everybody's kind of piling in. It usually happens right around like the 15-minute mark. Recognize Jabaspi, Harrison, Alan Clark, Jeremy, Lindsay, Lessery, everybody. Thank you for coming in. Keep the questions running. We'll kind of dig more into them as we get more and more news. Scotty Barnes going 4. I know Matt Hardwood Paroxysm has tipped his cap at that for the last couple of weeks. I didn't think they'd pull the trigger. That's for sure. I thought that was maybe a little bit more smoke than anything else. This is interesting. This is the first, I think, real twist. Now you've got Suggs, and Orlando may have a decision now in 2 shooters, right, Steve?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're talking about potentially one of my new favorite backcourts in all the NBA, and Cole Anthony and Jalen Suggs being in the same place.
Yep.
But man, I did not think Scotty Barnes was going to go that early, but
easily the biggest riser in the draft right now.
Hey,
wow.
I just saw this one from Action Network. The 4th overall pick, Jalen Suggs was a minus 700 for that pick. Scotty Barnes was a plus 500.
Yes.
Wow.
That is just for
that
people
is a
who gamble,
massive
that's a
shift.
massive upset at
Yes.
that pick. Mm-hmm. Massive.
I'm looking at and texting other people right now, like, what is going on right here?
Oh, wow. Man, Scotty's got the suit, man.
Yeah, no, he came prepared. That's a guy who knew he was going number 4 right there. Turtlenecked up for Toronto. You love to see it. Barnes is a hell of a player. I think he does profile incredibly well. I think there is some bust potential with him, but I also think there's some serious boom potential. Outside of Mobley, I think he's got maybe the highest upside. I think and this is nothing to do with me thinking that Cade's not going to be that guy. Barnes' physical platform has always, like you said, Steve, that's what stood out. And I think if he can develop offensively, that's where it matters. Because defensively, he has the frame, the mindset, the skill set to be a impact defender as a rookie with Mobley, which you don't see very often.
Yeah, and he just got asked to do so much weird stuff on offense last year. He really didn't get to play, off the ball to his strengths, cutting. attacking the baseline, what you want to see him do at the next level. I mean, he was tasked with a lot of ball handling, something he really didn't do in high school. I mean, he really just stood out so much, even as a high school player when I watched him. I mean, really, he guards position 1 through 5 in college. He certainly did it at the high school level. I mean, when Vernon Carey was taking plays off, it was Scotty Barnes who was coming in and doing everything.
And where did he go to school, Steve?
What is it? God, it's like University High School or something. It's like it's somewhere in Miami. But
but where did he come out of college?
Oh, I know. I've learned my lesson. So last year, if you tuned in for this last year, I was very critical of a couple Florida State guys. I'm not doing that again.
Why are you not Florida State, Steve?
He doesn't like Florida State guys, and the last 5 guys they put in the league have all been good players.
I think their zone defense can artificially inflate some of their defensive numbers.
Okay.
And that's why I was really worried about Patrick Williams specifically, that I felt like, yeah, of course he looks switchy when he's playing in the zone. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not doing it again. I think Scotty Barnes is the real deal. I was, tracking him long before he showed up to Florida State.
Suggs is going to go to the Magic. That's a done deal.
That's a big time. The Magic haven't had a backcourt worth a damn since Jameer Nelson.
They have some decisions to make too, with having Fultz there too now. So.
Boy, Danny, I don't know if I was going to sign up to hear you say what you just said.
Listen, hey man, you know what I love Jameer Nelson for? It's the fact that he mainlined stuff that makes you very strong and got away with it. Also, one of the funniest, the most ridiculous thing that I always point to with Zach Collins, when he tried to post up Jameer Nelson his rookie year, and Jameer put his forearm in Zach's butt and said, "Good luck." And he couldn't move Jameer off his spot. I'm like,
no, he couldn't move him at all.
He's 5'11", 230. What are you doing, Zach?
Jameer Nelson's got some of the biggest shoulders I've ever seen on a human being in person.
Yeah, no, Jameer is that dude. So that's why it comes back to how that one works out. All right. Let's see if we can get some of these questions in here now. Can the Blazers be a third team in Siakam for Ben trade? From what I have understood, they do not have the juice. CJ's value is just not there, and there's no combination of other guys that gets him there. Do you guys believe that they can get anywhere near the Beal, Siakam, Simmons level with anything they've got to offer?
Well, are you buying? Let me ask you guys this: are you buying the Beal report that he doesn't want to leave Washington?
He's a little bit like Dame in that he does want to stay, but
with that roster,
that's the thing. How much do you believe that? You look at the Wizards right now. Rui had a nice bounce back year, and I think that the organization looks highly upon him.
Yeah.
Bryant was having a good year before he went down. I don't believe in Kuzma.
Mm-hmm.
Had they been able to swing THT in this deal, then I think maybe you could have convinced me that they've got something to kind of figure out. But I think they're really in the same position as the Blazers. They just don't have the top-end talent or the ability to get those guys after that. So I think while he may be okay right now, I think by this time next year he's probably gone at the latest.
Well, I wouldn't, I'm not putting it past the Warriors either. What are they doing with 7 and 14, man? That's the big mystery, is it not? What they're doing with those picks?
I love that we're going to get there, and they're going to have to make a decision.
It's coming up. I mean, we got 10 minutes?
So I've talked to a few guys in Golden State, and from what I have been told, it's Steph, Clay, and Dre have made it known that you have got the draft and free agency to figure it out. And if you don't be surprised if we start making noise about getting out of here. Dre will be the first to go. Clay will be next in line. It kind of depends on how he comes back out of his injuries. And then Steph will have to make a legacy decision. Does he want to be Dirk of the Bay, or does he want to go compete for the last 2-3 years of his career, of his peak? But they have shown the willingness to commit, but will they commit that far? To move Wiseman, to move 7, to move 14. Either of you guys think that they'll do it?
I mean, you're looking down the barrel of having Jonathan Kuminga on the board when they pick at 7. And I don't think there's a player further from actual NBA competition in this lottery than Jonathan Kuminga. Yeah. So what does he do for them at 7? I mean, you still have to figure out what Wiseman does on this team. So I think they're going to find a way to move this, and they almost have to, because there's nothing at 7 that's going to be useful. I think you do have to protect that legacy, and I think it would be very interesting to add this final chapter if you do go get a win now piece. But man, I think they are the team to watch. I mean, obviously we're waiting for the other shoe to fall with the Raptors potentially, but
well, who's the piece then? If it's not Bradley Beal, who's the piece? Because the Ben Simmons thing reportedly got shot down because Daryl Morey's off his rocker.
Yeah.
So if it's not,
let's go with that real quick.
Yeah.
What is a respectable, acceptable return for both parties? Whether you believe Simmons is going to Toronto, Golden State, Washington. What is, if you're Daryl Morey, what is the level of return that makes sense for Ben Simmons right now?
I don't know if there's ever been a bigger disconnect of what the media perceives as someone's trade value and what someone's actual trade value might be.
Yeah.
And then I think
CJ McCollum does exist too. You have to remember that.
CJ McCollum. Well, okay, never mind.
Yeah,
never mind. He no-showed against the Nuggets. Never mind.
Yeah. I mean, what's a fair trade for Ben Simmons to go to one of those teams? Is it Wiseman in 7? Wiseman in 14?
Yeah, I don't know. What's Philly? Philly doesn't. What does Philly need the draft picks for? Why do they need Wiseman? So
I think you redirect this stuff, and I think that's the thing is if you're looking at these assets that they have, it's about redirection, and I think that's kind of where it comes up with the whole idea of getting number 4 for CJ McCollum. You know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this up on screen right now. Make or miss. The Blazers turned down a top 4 pick for CJ McCollum. Did it happen? Do either of you believe that was legitimately on the table for them?
If I could turn my head all the way around, no, I would do that right now.
There was no way. Absolutely no way that was ever on the table.
That's malpractice. That is malpractice, right?
Well, especially when you're now apparently talent evaluators looked at this as a top tier that was roughly 5 players deep. There was no way they were going to get into 4, because if you lump Scotty Barnes in there now, so I've seen a lot of questions in here. I want to make sure we get to the guys because listen, thank you guys. We're at between Twitch and YouTube, we're over 120 right now live. So
here we go.
Appreciate y'all. This is my typical time to beg for support. If you haven't already, please sub, please rate, review, subscribe, do all of the things as I continue to grow this. Let's go ahead and go through here. Trade Dame for Steph. I mean, no. Deadly content. Would you be happy if we left tonight with Bagley and Siakam? I mean, what am I giving up? I mean, I like Pascal. I mean, if we're talking about anybody not named Dame, you have my attention. If you're talking about Damian Lillard, then hell no. Okay, let's do this.
Steve, can I ask you real quick?
Go ahead.
After these 5 picks, though, the talent's probably there, but after 5, even if the talent's not there, you got to say now the draft is interesting, is it not?
Yeah, I think you're going to get more into pick your poison, where you're going to get into every front office. I think might have a different list here. It's not consensus from here on. And I think really, I still think it's best player available, but I think your roster construction is going to start to play more of a factor for the rest of these picks, or your timeline. Like, especially with Jonathan Kuminga, I mean, he makes sense for some of these teams, potentially OKC with, they're not really looking to compete right now, but that guy doesn't make any sense for New Orleans. He doesn't make any sense for the Warriors. So we're getting into that area where there's not a consensus and you're looking at roster construction probably from here on out.
If you had to rate the best fit of the big names that have been talked about in trade discussion, whether it's Brad Beal, whether it's Ben Simmons, whether it's Pascal Siakam, in a perfect world, which player would you want on this Portland team?
Beal.
Interesting.
Beal. Look, Siakam's fine. I mean, I'd be ecstatic with Siakam I love Bradley Beal. I have argued with people about Bradley Beal and CJ McCollum for 4 years now.
Which you shouldn't have to, because he's significantly better at everything.
Dude, I know, but they're like, Washington's not good. Give me Bradley Beal all day. 6'5", can shoot, can put the ball on the floor. I mean, yes, please. Bradley Beal all day.
The draft just got interesting. Josh Giddey, OKC.
Wow.
Giddey?
Wow. He was no higher than 10th by anybody.
Every mock draft had him 10 or
12.
Oh, goodness.
Wow.
I really wonder if this is strong arming the Warriors here, because there was talk that
everybody coming together to screw the Warriors over.
Well, I think this was one player that was definitely on the Warriors' radar from everything that kind of the rumors that were coming into this week. I don't know. I don't think anybody had OKC looking at Giddey here. So that's super interesting, and also maybe speaks to how really available SGA is on this trade market. I mean, playing at a redundant position there.
Yeah, that's. I don't have good insight into OKC's front office. I know some folks who do, but if SGA is genuinely available, you make that move.
You don't hesitate.
SGA's a stud. He's 25, 5, and 6. Like, he's that dude.
How old is he? 22?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's 23 until late in the year.
I mean, that's yes.
Yeah.
You do that all day. It's a college senior.
It's so crazy when you think about it that way. You're just like,
what are we doing?
I don't know. Tony, yes, any Olshey murmurs at all, or are we just running it back?
Running it back.
I mean, the overall overarching theme is they are running it back. Whether or not they do it with Norman Powell and they get screwed by letting Gary Trent Jr. get to Toronto and not have his RFA rights, which, Steve, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll be leading the pitchforks and torches right to the facility if Norman Powell doesn't re-sign and Gary Trent Jr. gets locked up.
Guys, I hate to tell you this.
You got to go.
No, I do too, but I don't have any faith he's signing back here.
I don't either.
Interesting.
I don't have any faith. It doesn't. To me, if you're Norm Powell, be Norm Powell right now. Why does it make sense to come back to Portland with CJ McCollum coming back?
Yeah, no, and to play out of position. There's one reason to do it.
Yeah.
There's one reason.
What, you West Coast?
It's the cash.
Yeah,
they will overpay him.
But if the Knicks will pay you 21 and the Blazers pay you 22, like,
I don't know if they will. I don't know if the Knicks will commit that much money. They still have Dolan as their owner, but they have a significantly smarter front office. The Blazers have to overpay. The Knicks do not.
With Norm Powell, I mean, not only are you talking about CJ McCollum, but you're also talking this is his first unrestricted free agency. This is his prime year's contract.
You want to get wined and dined. You want to get that money.
Yeah, you want to get entertained, but also just going forward. If you're not sure what Damian Lillard's doing here moving forward, you're talking about spending your prime next to Damian Lillard, or you're talking about re-ing up if you are traded after this team gets torn down. Who knows where you end up for your prime years? I just don't see it. And the team I'm really interested to watch that nobody's talking about for Norm Powell I think it's the Spurs. They are open to talking about reforming their backcourt.
yeah.
I think Norm Powell is right at that level of a type of free agent that San Antonio could go and get. And I just think he's a perfect fit for Pop's system. We've watched what Norm does. He's a quick decision maker.
Yeah.
He fits perfectly in that pace and space style.
That's a good call, Steven. I think it's also, too, a good call of if Dame's bolting in a year, what did you just sign up for?
Yeah.
Do you want to spend your prime years in the NBA in the middle of a rebuild?
Not in Portland, Oregon.
Or get traded to OKC for picks when Portland trades this down, tears it down. So
do you want to have a little bit of say in this or
Yeah.
not? And that's, I think, kind of the situation. All right, we're almost at 130 here. We've been going for 35 minutes. We're here with Brandon Sprague, 1080 The Fan, Steve Dewald, our deputy editor at Blazers Edge. And Brandon, I know you got to get going here pretty quick.
Yeah.
So I will say this now with you here. I debated whether or not to say anything, but I'm going to. The new podcast on Blazers Edge that you guys will all see will be hosted by me, co-hosted by me, and will also feature the guy here, Brandon Sprague. Jack Ramsey's A Blue Wire podcast will be coming out. The first episode we're recording this weekend. That will come out. You guys, everybody has supported me over the years at Blazers Edge, whether it was maybe with Steve, whether it was with Dave, whether it was with Tara. 6 years. Everything is going to stay the same except for a new feed. So when that goes live, it will be there on iTunes. It will be there on Spotify. It will be there for all of you. And the only thing you will need to do is resubscribe to the feed. I am starting from scratch. The folks at SB Nation have been awesome and have allowed me to go ahead and keep hosting the site, hosting the podcast at Blazers Edge. And Brandon will be a part of that fold coming in. So, Brandon, thank you, man. I think it's going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. You've done, you worked really hard for that. So congratulations to you. Blazers Edge is one of the best websites out there. So I'm really happy for you. And, I'm happy to be a part of it, man. We have a lot of fun when we talk basketball. And
it gives you your outlet to nerd out on basketball.
Yes, it is my outlet because I get to talk hoops on the radio, but then football season kind of comes in and it's like, I don't know about basketball anymore.
No. He's going to push you to the side. All right, Brandon, you got a bolt, right?
Well, I was just going to say I do got a bolt, but I was...
Okay, go. I'll let you stay on as long as you want, buddy.
I absolutely love how screwed Golden State is right now. Yeah. Because I will never forgive them for that stupid freaking comment by their owner, light years ahead of the whole league.
Oh, listen, to play off that, my guys, Sam and Andy, they are at Blue Wire. They have the Light Years podcast. So as a part of the Blue Wire family, I fully support the Light Years stupidity. So it's gonna be fun.
Dude, they're gonna go Kuminga if they have to make the pick. They're going Kuminga.
Yeah, they are going Kuminga. Shams has got it. Wow. Kuminga and Moody.
Oh my goodness.
This is I'm gonna quote a tweet here from one of the draft guys I love. If you're not following Ben Pfeiffer. Bob Myers, Operation Force Steph out of town complete. This draft, love it so far. Just pure unadulterated chaos. It's
so good, dude. I'm leaving on such a high note right now. All
right, everybody stay there. I'm going to shuffle some things around. Brandon's going to tag out of here, and we'll be back here in like 2 minutes. Appreciate you guys. Brandon, go ahead and plug anything. Say hi, say bye, do all you got.
Dirt and Sprague tomorrow, 6 to 9. We'll recap some of the draft stuff, including the Blazers not doing anything. Give Steve a follow all his great coverage of Blazers Edge. And Danny, congratulations. Excited for the pod. Thanks for having me, my man.
Awesome, brother. You take care. Enjoy the double date.
Yeah.
Nice talking with you, Brandon.
Yeah, Steve.
All right, guys. We'll be back in about 5 minutes.
You good?
6-6.
I'm shining bright, got me feeling like I'm next, so feeling like I'm Curry, how I'm balling on the West Wall. If you told me back then, I never would've guessed, so now the way I'm winning, I might have to cut the net home. Yeah, I'm shining bright, got me feeling like I'm next, so feeling like I'm Curry, how I'm balling on the West Wall. If you told me back then, I never would've guessed, so now the way I'm winning, I might have to cut the net. Hey, I said I've been slaving, dog, let me see the money. Hey, now I'm popping, oh they looking at me funny. Hey. I was in the rain waiting for these sunny days. Made it through, you can tell me I don't love to say. On my way to that show, told them pipe down, I don't need no hoes. I've been out with my bros, even back then I knew I'd grow. Now I'm knocking down these doors, they ain't keeping up when I switch these flows. They don't want no smoke, can't get hot, I can play so low. I've been trying to get it, told them I'ma run it up. Out on night, so I told them go and fill my cup. Now they texting, but back then they never showed me love. They been hating since day one, dog, you looking sus. Now they switching sides, I can't mess with y'all. I could tell they ain't real, I can't get involved. Ooh, I seen them now, and they tryna call. Ooh, this summer's mine, but they tryna watch me fall. Yeah, I'm shining bright, got me feeling like I'm next, so feeling like I'm Curry, how I'm balling on the West Wall. If you told me back then, ooh, I never would've guessed, so now the way I'm winning, I'm next, though. Feeling like I'm Curry, how I'm ballin' on a West Wall. If you told me back then, ooh, I never would've guessed so. Now the way I'm winning, I might have to cut the net, ho, yeah.
All right. I'll wait until Steve gets back here. What's going on, guys? Yeah, it's going to be spicy. I think you guys are going to want to hear what Henry has to say. I genuinely believe it's going to be really good. I think there's a lot behind the scenes that folks aren't entirely aware or prepared for. And there we go. We got Mr. Steve back. Let's go ahead and boop, get him back in the show. All right. Everything. You know what I love is all of this stuff working.
Oh, I know. It's killer.
It's my favorite is actually getting this all to work. Like, remember we did this last year and I couldn't change slides without it working. And we had to stay on that one page the entire time. Yeah. To make things weird already, Steve, Franz Wagner to Orlando.
He had a lot of movement heading into today. Like, he really went from a guy late lottery to everybody was talking he's going to be a top 10 pick.
I got to say, I'm honestly surprised. And you know what? We're going to change things up here real quick because we have a third already in here. So let me get him in here. And let's see if I can actually do this time without it all being twisted up. It's going to be all twisted up. Oh,
good morning.
Oh, no. If I knew he was coming on, I would have left.
Aussie, oi, oi, oi.
Giddy, baby.
Yeah, I know. I knew you were going to be a little too giddy about giddy. All right, give me 1 second here. My Zoom is acting up more than it should. That is for certain. All right, I think we're going to be good here. Come on, work for me. There it goes. Ay. All right. I think I'm running probably way too many applications for everything to work appropriately right now. I am streaming ESPN on one side. I have got the streams up on the other channels. I've got TweetDeck, the video compression, and everything else running. For Bill says, no, that is our resident Aussie, Adrian Bernecich. Adrian, thanks for hopping in, man.
Hey, guys. Pretty exciting morning. Sorry, morning for me.
Yeah, I would say it's morning for some, afternoon for others. Are you giddy for Giddy? You got another Aussie in the league?
I am giddy for Giddy. I am thrilled that he went so high. was listening to you guys before and hearing him, hearing your response to him going to OKC. But yeah, he's Evan Turner with a shot. That's
Which is that's not a bad thing. That's a really good player.
That's a good player.
That's a really good thing.
Like,
and that's and he'll be good. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Shea though.
It is going to be interesting there, and I think what's going to be really interesting here is Memphis moved up to 10, and I know that a lot of people talked about Giddy being their target at 10. Book Knight and Moody were the two guys that I have heard endlessly associated with Memphis. Now, I don't know who's going to go 9. Steve, any thoughts on 9?
You know, I would really like to see Garuba here, but we'll see. I think he is
another wild card.
Being a playmaker from that center position, I think there's just a lot he can do. I think he has really good floor vision. He's patient. You can see him developing a short roll offense, something that they wanted to have with Bagley that just hasn't happened. So maybe you correct that. You do a little course correction. There potentially is some changeover with the center position in Sacramento heading into next year. So, going here at 9, I don't
there
mind.
Might be.
Yeah, there's a good chance. But I also think, Moses Moody's interesting here. Book Knight's interesting here, especially if they are still looking to trade Buddy Hield.
I mean, it's not a secret. Sacramento's been trying to get off Buddy Hield for almost 3 years. Mm-hmm. So
if only another team could exchange headaches at the shooting guard position, but I can't think of one.
Yeah, you'd have to throw in Barnes for me to even remotely consider it, and then salary-wise, it gets a little dicey for Portland at that point in time because Buddy's at like 24, I think.
Yeah.
And Barnes is at 18.
And you're saying goodbye to Norman at that point as well. I mean, Norman's not coming back if Hield's there.
No, and that's another issue. I think you'd have to maybe work Norm in a signing trade to get him somewhere, to get him the extra money, and get him where he wants to be. Jonathan Granger says, "Hi, hey Adrian. Question from Aussie: what is Josh Giddey's ceiling?"
I just said it. Evan Turner. Evan Turner with exciting stuff. I actually think I know this with Jonathan Granger. He might actually be my boss. So thanks for writing.
So he clearly knows you're not at work right now. So that's
he's a plant.
I've been approved to take some time off before I get back to work.
Well, we appreciate you sharing Adrian with us.
He's
Evan Turner with a shot. I mean, Evan Turner with a shot would have been a fantastic player for this Portland team back in the day. I mean, he might have even lived up to that contract.
Kings are taking Davion Mitchell.
Okay, that's not a bad pick.
I mean,
redundant, but not a bad pick.
Listen, I'm a fan of best player available, and I think even though he does lack size and he's got arms shorter than mine, I'm definitely a little bit surprised to see him. This is the range. This is the range you expect Mitchell to go. I have a certain affinity for guys named Mitchell who wear the number 45. That is for sure. Steve, how much do you like this Mitchell?
Totally different player, and it's something. I don't know. It's probably it ages like lukewarm dairy milk. But if you go back and listen to our draft podcast we did on the Church of Roy, I really dove into this. This Mitchell, not nearly the wingspan, doesn't offer that versatility
Raptor
on
arms.
Defense, but very polished. Really had to finish his career at Baylor very well. Has all the makings of a player that could probably step right onto the floor and make a difference. I'm just curious to see, what are the Kings doing? Because now you're talking. I mean, I guess that's always the question with the Kings, or what are the Kings doing? But you have Halliburton, Fox, Mitchell, and now you still have Hield. So you have your 4, best or most promising players are all in the backcourt. So is there a big change coming? I don't know. But Mitchell is a fine player, but he is not Donovan Mitchell. Davion Mitchell is a very different player.
All right, I'm going to throw this one in the chat right now. Will the Blazers trade CJ tonight? Whoop. Throw this one in there. Let's get the chaos going. Will the Blazers trade CJ McCollum tonight? I'm not going to influence it one way or another. I've said enough, I think, in that regard, but I threw that in there. Go ahead and respond to that one if you guys are in the chat. Tyler Riggs, is Pascal Siakam for CJ trade?
Can you add a third option, Dan? Can you add a third option? Yes, no, man, I hope so.
Well, no, that'll skew it too much. I don't want anybody on the fence. I want to make a decision. What do they think is going to happen? Tyler Riggs, does Pascal Siakam for CJ trade make sense now that they drafted Barnes? No. They've got better CJ. Do either of you think that CJ McCollum right now is better than Fred?
No.
Not on the defensive end.
Do you think he's better on the offensive end?
I think they're comparable.
At the start of the season, CJ probably. The post
13 game CJ?
Yeah.
Let me just say, I love everybody saying, well, if they get that CJ. So as opposed to the CJ that they had for 8 years, it's a lot like looking at Neil Olshey and making a trade that actually matters. You've got 9 years of not doing it, but now's the time he's gonna land that ball.
If we team him up with pre-contract extension Hassan Whiteside, we're really cooking. So I got it in. I wanted to get Hassan Whiteside shade in. I got to do it. I think it's mandatory per my contract to get that work.
Chandler Parsons pre-injury, maybe.
Oh.
Brandon Roy pre-injury.
Oh no, we're talking about hypothetically good here, not actually good. Would you trade CJ and 2 firsts for Larry Nance? No, I like Larry Nance, but I wouldn't trade anything more than a first and Derek Jones. Like, I like Nance. I think he's a good small ball 5. I think he can do a lot of it. He's genuinely a guy I see you can plug on almost any team. He's a very good modern big.
And he's gotten better at defense in the last couple of years. I think he's kind of...
He gives a damn, which is really important, but he also has tools to be effective.
Ooh, Zaire Williams snuck into the top 10, going to Memphis, according to Shams.
What is happening here? I'm seeing reaction from Memphis already, and it's not great, Bob.
Not great. I would say Williams, highly touted recruit coming out of high school, did not have a great season with Stanford, but there is still a ton of upside with him. So not really a Memphis pick here. I mean, especially with some of the options that were out there. It's wild.
That team needs shooting.
I just did not see at the start of the night that Williams would come off the board before Book night. Like, that's crazy to me.
The Ringer have mocked him at 21, which
What'd you
is
say?
crazy. The Ringer have mocked him at 21.
Mm-hmm.
I'm genuinely surprised. I mean, you have a guy. Why move up?
Yeah.
Why? I mean, you gave up JV, who, I mean, you don't believe in it. He's gonna be there. He's gonna be there much later. The only thing I can think right now is that, and this is from somebody in Memphis, Grizzlies are drafting Zaire Williams and they are keeping him.
Wow.
I am surprised. The only thing I can think of is Moody's medicals must have been an abject disaster, which was on the table, right, Steve?
Yeah, I mean that was something that kind of popped up here coming in the last couple of weeks. But man, I just, like you said, to trade up to that pick and then make this selection, really, it is super puzzling. And like I said, it's not so much the Moody still being on the board. Really, for me, it's Book Knight being on the board and Williams coming off.
The best scorer, hands down, in the draft. Yes.
Pretty close.
I know Cade has creation and other things, but if you're talking about a guy who can get his own look in multiple ways, Book Knight's the guy, right?
I mean, Cam Thomas is damn good on offense too.
I know. It's just the whole idea of LSU guys. You know, how much do you believe in SEC basketball? It's
Well, of course you're not going to like Cam Thomas because you know who Cam Thomas' direct comparison is CJ McCollum.
I know.
So
I know.
I should have known better before wandering into that territory, but
it's to be honest, I thought Memphis might lean towards Cam if it wasn't Book Night if he was off the board. To say that I'm floored between 4 and 10 is an understatement. To say the least.
Somebody made some money in Vegas betting on this.
That is for damn sure. And here's the thing. For all of our initial reaction, there was a draft 2 years ago now for Cam, a different Cam, not Thomas, but Johnson. And I will tell you this unequivocally. The Portland Trailblazers were dying for Cam Johnson in the draft. They had him as their top guy. He was the top of their board. That is who they were hoping was going to fall.
I was told by a reliable source that it was Nasir Little the whole time. His name was Neil Olshey, and that's what he said afterwards.
Well, here's the thing. They had Nasir in the lottery on their board. They did not think they ever had a chance of drafting him. When Cam went, so many boards reset around the league. But everybody called that pick a stretch. But the one thing that even you and I talked about this after that pick, that UNC team was broke. They used every one of those guys poorly. You looked at how Nasir was used. He was slotted in as a side option to Cam. And instead of using him as a 3-4 kind of hybrid, they put him in positions and stuck him in a corner.
And it really didn't get better the next year. I mean, Cole Anthony was a
one-man show
in that system as well.
Yeah.
And a one-man show on top of it, like you said.
And look, those reactions, I mean, believe it, last year, the three of us sat here wondering why the Hornets had taken LaMelo Ball. Look at that in hindsight. I remember the instant reaction we had to that Ball selection, and he's Rookie of the Year, and he's going to be with that team for a long time to come.
Mm-hmm. I did not buy Ball at all. I didn't. I knew that there were some things there that I think the NBA needs, and that's the flashiness and going crazy and just being must-see watching. But I didn't believe in his shot. I didn't believe in his athleticism. I didn't know how well his passing was truly going to translate, because we talked about Lonzo. It turns out Lonzo's handle being broken ruined his creation ability. He's still probably a top 10 passer in the league. His passing ability is through the roof. His handle's busted. He can't create space or separation, doesn't have the athleticism. LaMelo does. And so maybe that's enough.
I want to say, though, as far as reaction goes, the top tier of this draft is drastically different than last year's. I think we're about to get into that weird zone where I think
this is where we're at right now in the draft is where the top of the draft was last year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Does that sound about right for you?
Pretty close. I think Anthony Edwards, Lonzo, Wiseman were above where this group is. But yeah, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, like this is right. We're right there. And we're kind of going to go this pick your poison zone. But then, as this night goes on, when we get about 25 to 50, there's a lot of really good players in this draft. And we're going to get to that a little later. But as far as the top of this draft goes, I don't want to criticize it too much because, really there's a lot of talent here at the top, and all these players could pan out. There's going to be some surprises that don't. There's nothing really that has super, super shocked me so far as
Giddey going as high as he did shock me.
Yeah, that is a little high.
Giddey, Barnes was creeping. I just didn't think anybody would pull the trigger. Memphis taking Williams is another one. Those three. Josh Bullock. Danny, if we don't move off CJ and lose Powell, would you trade Dame now to build off of Siakam or Simmons with picks? I'll give my thoughts on this, and I'll let you guys kind of fill in. If the Portland Trailblazers are going to move Damian Lillard, I am not trading him for anybody over 23 years old. I am not going to reset. I do not give a damn about CJ McCollum's future with this team. None. Not whatsoever. I am not trading Damian Lillard and then saying, CJ, you be the point guard. You know why? I'm not Neil Olshey. I don't believe in CJ McCollum like Neil does. If you're going to reset, I mean reset. Blow it up. I want 4 first-round picks, a blue chip, and 2 pick swaps. That's what I want. Hands down. If Brandon Ingram and that haul of picks that they have in New Orleans is on the table, that's what I want. If for some reason OKC's like Shea and a pile of picks because they go all in, sign me up. I do not want anybody over 23 years old. I do not want Siakam. I do not want Simmons. If you want to trade CJ in a package for Simmons or Siakam, fine. Go with God. I'm all for it. I do not want anybody over 23 years old for Damian Lillard. You guys, how do you guys feel if they're going to blow it up with Dame?
I think what I want and what I think might happen in that situation are 2 different things, obviously. I feel just with how this team has trended in the past and how we've seen them act as an organization is they're going to try to stay in the mediocrity zone, especially with a potential sale coming. Who knows if Jody Allen wants to hang on to this team. I could see them falling short of a rebuild and missing on getting, 75 cents, 50 cents on the dollar for Damian Lillard, to where you end up with these pieces that you're trying to create another, like a playoff team. I think they fall short of both, and they end in like this weird spot outside, like in the late lottery, and I think it's a disaster. So if you're coming to me for optimism on the Damian Lillard front, I am definitely the wrong person to come to on this. As far as trading Lillard altogether, I think even if there is a 5% chance that you can fix this situation, you hang on to it until he comes out and says, absolutely 100% trade me. Here's the list of teams, or I'm going to deliver a list of teams if you do not trade me, because obviously trade value shifts once the list comes out. So, try to fix it. But if they are going to move it, I don't know. I would like to think that, don't trade for anybody on, over 23, but I just don't think this organization is built that way, and they're going to try to aim for the middle on this, and it's going to make me lose what little hair I have left on top of my head.
Yeah, no, it's pure hell. Book Knight goes to Charlotte. If he is the player, if he is the scorer that you think he can be, PJ Bridges, Melo, Book Knight, I don't know if it's going to be good. I will tell you this.
It's going to be fun.
That is going to be my league pass team outside Memphis. Unabashedly.
And Plumlee, don't forget Dog.
You ruined it. We wasted the good surprise on you.
So I do want to touch on one thing that we're already kind of seeing come together here is we're seeing some really fun young backcourts come together here.
Yeah.
So you have the Pistons with Cade Cunningham, Killian Hayes. Their most underrated one, I would say. I mean, Cade Cunningham's doing the heavy lifting there. You have Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., You have
with Christian Wood.
Yep. You have Jalen. I'm just talking pure backcourt.
Yeah, I'm just saying that you've got some good foundations for the teams.
You got Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony, another really fun one. Mm-hmm. Now you have Book Knight and LaMelo. And
they've got Devontae and Terry still.
Yeah.
Like this is going to bring this back to the Blazers. This is why it's so freaking hard to trade CJ McCollum right now, because there are so bleeping many good guards in the NBA. Where CJ McCollum had value was 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And I'm going to tie this back to trading Damian Lillard. There's a reason why I was at the front of the line in trading CJ McCollum. It's that pragmatism. It's not because CJ's not good. And anybody who knows me, who's been around me, Lindsay saying that, you're always pragmatic, Steve. Shout out her for putting up with my crap for years too. And an original supporter of the original Blazers Outsiders. She was there from day one. So, but the whole idea of getting out in front of stuff, I don't think the Blazers, as long as Neil Olshey is here, will ever do that. Dwight James, who a lot of people have Dwight wrong. Yes, he carries Neil's water, but he is as plugged in as it gets to Neil. That's the direct line. And Dwight said something. Was it today or yesterday? Neil's not going to be, pressed or bullied into making a move, and it's like He's never made a move that he wasn't pressed into making. He was pressed into trading for Yusuf Nurkic because he wanted a first-round pick for Mason Plumlee, who he was going to get nothing for. You look at every single move that he has made is because he's been forced into a corner. The only things you can say that he has done proactively was because they were set up for him. That's drafting Damian Lillard because Chad Buchanan did the heavy lifting. Drafting CJ McCollum because the other guys he had on his board fell the right way. Yes, he still pulled the trigger, but the times that he has gone and done things on his own, 2016, 2017, you go down the list, and every time you put him at the front of the list, making decisions where it's not there for him, hasn't been great.
Don't forget also that Plumlee-Nurkic trade, that pick was the prize, not Nurkic.
Oh, yeah,
Nurkic
no,
was
100%.
a pleasant surprise.
No, no, and Nurkic wasn't even like a surprise. Like it
was a throw-in.
It wasn't even a throw-in. That was the cost of taking the first-round pick. Is you had to take back a pissed-off Yusuf Nurkic. That was he was just. I'll be honest. He had to go in Denver. It was toxic. Unabashedly, everybody I talked to, everybody who covered that team was like, he has got to go. He came here and he was the right soldier because
history repeating.
I don't think it's quite that level, but he's certainly showing signs of being a malcontent. The end of season press conference and doing a little thing here or there. But that's why I also, as much as I would be proactive in moving Damian Lillard, if you genuinely believe he's gone, I don't want Neil Olshey to be the one making that move.
Mm-hmm. Here. Yep.
So
I on the Nurk front, I think it has been good that Henry Abbott has become an outlet for his frustration. So it's been obviously Dame and Henry Abbott got into it a little bit today, but
and not to cut you off, Steve, I put it in the chat earlier. I do have confirmation. I will have Henry on the podcast next week. Nice. So if you got questions in the mailbag will be bumped a little bit. I have got some heat coming on guests for the new podcast. There's no doubt about that. But sorry, Steve, go ahead.
No. Just real quick, circling back to the Zaire Williams pick, it sounds like Tayshaun Prince was a big advocate there to bring him into Memphis.
Interesting.
And also, I believe it was Chad Ford talking about this, saying, there's actually a little bit of Tayshaun Prince in Zaire's game. So
he's got some measurements.
Yeah, the measurements are the same.
Interesting.
Can I ask a question about the Ricky Rubio trade? Does this mean Sexton is gone?
No. The two totally different things. I have got good sources in Cleveland. He is their backup point guard. Rubio will come off the bench. They needed a backup. He's only got a year left on his deal. That is they are keeping him. They 100% targeted Rubio. Now,
huge reach by the Spurs here, in my opinion.
Whoa, Primo.
Wow.
I'm sorry, what?
Man, I thought
he was like 26, 27, wasn't he?
I had him. I mean, I contemplated covering him for second round coverage. I mean, I'll trust the Spurs, but man, that I did not see that pick coming.
I'm genuinely speechless.
Wow. I'm trying to figure out where I had him on my. I had him.
Sengun's still on the board, yeah? What is happening here?
Wow.
They need a big. Wow.
I mean, DeJounte and Derek White, I mean, they've clearly been made available for a reason.
I mean, Primo isn't even my favorite prospect from Alabama this year, let alone taking him at 12. Like, that's pretty nuts.
Well, speaking of Alabama, that brings us back to Sexton. The Cavs have made him available. It's not because they don't think that he's good. In fact, the organization loves Colin Sexton. They have had to throw him out of the gym because he works so hard. And that's not like hyperbole. They had to quite literally say, no, you can't come in. They had to have somebody oversee him to keep him from burning himself out. Indiana is thrilled at the idea that Oregon's Chris Duarte will be available at number 13 per sources. I love it when Woj gets like this.
Yep.
Lasered, locked in. It's great stuff. But here's the deal. The Cavs are in a position, where they're not sure they want to commit max money to Colin Sexton. Now, if you're a believer in Colin Sexton, you can look at his advanced numbers, and they will match favorably with both Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell, who are what? Max players.
Yeah.
And he's a Schwartz client, CAA, and he gets his guys paid. So the Cavs are saying, hey, if we can get you to a team that makes sense for us on a return, that will get you a max deal, we will consider it. And so that's been how they have shopped things. I know Miami is interested, a package of Harrow and Precious Achua, but remember, they wouldn't give Harrow away for anything last year, and now all of a sudden they're dying to get off of him. Why? Because he's more interested with being an IG model than playing basketball.
And he stunk this year as well.
But yeah, there's a large contingent of folks in the NBA who believe that those two things are related. Let's just put it that way. And the Cavs are looking at that like, well, maybe we're not that thrilled about that return. So I won't be shocked if Sexton is moved, but I don't believe that that's with a starting point of where they're going with him. That sound close enough?
Yeah.
Looks like a lot of folks are interested in hearing from Henry. I think you guys will be. I think you will be surprised to hear what he has to say. Sirius, you absolutely have to give him credit for the Nurkic trade, knowing that Plumlee was worth a first-rounder plus a prospect. That's what you're not understanding. The cost of getting that first-round pick was taking Yusuf Nurkic.
Yep.
Nobody wanted him. That's the thing. And even then, that's not getting a first-round pick. And I understand some people really want to drive that home, that Neil, you got to give him credit. I have given Neil credit for the things that he has done well. He has done very good in the second round. He has done very good when he has had lottery picks outside of Zach Collins. Like, everybody's like, well, it'd be great to have Giannis. CJ was a good pick. He was. Like, you don't get it twisted. He's a very good player. When you take a lottery pick and you get a 20-point-per-game efficient scorer, that's a good move.
Look, all I'm saying is sometimes when I'm cooking pasta, I let it boil for a little too long, and it comes out perfect.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I didn't do it on purpose, but I'm sure as hell taking credit for, it tasted real good tonight. So, I mean, I know what you're saying, but also, I mean, I give him some credit for making the deal. I mean, you got to. I mean, I don't agree with it, but so the Warriors are going to have Moody fall to them or Kispert.
Mm-hmm. I know they wanted Duarte because he's as you can send that as he's NBA ready, right?
Yep.
I know you guys talked about it earlier, but can we talk about Westbrook in Los Angeles? Because I just laughed my head off.
We did already. Let's get yours. And shout out, we got 150 people in here right now. Thank you, everybody. That's awesome. These are literally growing every single week, and I love to see this. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, whether you're watching on Twitch, whether you're watching on YouTube. I've already teased. I've got Henry Abbott on the podcast next week. I've got a bunch of other guests I've got lined up that I have to balance around my surgery dates. I also have a big project that I've been working on, and I'll give you guys a little insight on it. Everybody's talking about Damian Lillard and trading him or rebuilding or what his situation is. Something that I have done, and Steve, you know this, is talk about what Damian Lillard has done to improve his game every single year. And I got a hold of a lot of second spectrum data, and I found some things that I think will really surprise you guys. Number one, it will back up my thesis that Dame is a terrible lob passer. So there's something to go behind it. But also there's some things that he can do to really improve his game that I think you guys will find really interesting that I've got a lot of video breakdown coming into. with that being said, like, rate, review, subscribe. Follow Adrian on Twitter. Follow Steve on Twitter. Follow everything they do at Blazers Edge. Adrian, the floor is yours. Give me your Russell Westbrook opus.
Who's going to spread the floor? What they're spending? What $120 million on 3 players?
Tony Snell.
None of them. I mean, they got rid of KCP, who was their only real reliable 3-point shooter. Look,
they're going to get DeMar DeRozan on the mini MLE,
who also doesn't shoot threes. but I mean,
but the Bucks weren't a team that relied on threes. They beat the hell out of teams in the paint and in the mid range.
But if you haven't got that threat outside, it's. I mean, it's going to be easy for defense just to key in on them. I mean, there's only one ball, and you've got. I mean, Russell Westbrook is going to want another season of triple doubles. How's he going to get that playing with LeBron and AD?
I want to know where he sees himself in the pecking order.
This idea that LeBron James is, or Anthony Davis for that matter, is going to play the majority of the regular season is insane to me. Like, Russell Westbrook's going to get his stats because he's going to be asked to do a bunch in the regular season, and that's why I kind of like this trade for the Lakers, because it addresses the problem that bit them this year, is that they are going to have a guy on their team, just himself, that is going to be capable of beating the really bad Eastern Conference teams, the really bad Western Conference teams. And you can go out and find specialty shooters to space the floor, because guys are going to want to come to LA to win a ring. It's not like
minimum contracts, though?
What?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You're going to see DeRozan go there for the taxpayer or the biannual. Like, guys are going to go there because it's going to result in a ring.
I'm just looking forward to the chemistry on and off the court, and I just wonder, as you said, where does Westbrook sit in the pecking order? Because it's going to be fascinating to watch. Because
as much as we talk about LeBron playing off ball, which I think he needs to have that a little bit, because he just can't run an offense for 38 minutes anymore. I joke about this. LeBron's 2 months younger than me. LeBron is 2 months younger than me. We're falling apart. Okay.
Oh, you're falling apart, Dan.
So Moody to the Warriors.
That's a good pick, and I hate it. God dang it.
They could have took him at 7, and I would have thought it was a good pick.
Yeah.
So.
Duarte at 13. I'm going to reserve my usual duck bashing, because Duarte's probably the best player they've ever put in the NBA.
Yeah. Complete player, yeah.
I genuinely believe that. I know there's Dylan Brooks people in here. Just stop. I don't. Stop.
Richard?
I've had people say, would you entertain a trade that has, name any Memphis Grizzly, not name Jaren Jackson or John Morant, come back and Dylan Brooks is a part of the package? I never want Dylan Brooks on a team that I cover or like. I do not like him in any way, shape, matter, or form. Duarte I like. He's a good player. He's just a likable dude. Kispert's got to go to the Wizards, right?
You would. Who knows what the Wizards are going to do? And who knows what that team's going to look like?
I mean, they need a shooter. There's no doubt about that. But, and I swear to God, if you put Skodux,
hey, they've got KCP now.
I flamed the Josh Primo pick pretty good. I just do want to return to the Spurs.
You want to
pick.
revisit? Yeah, go. We didn't spend too much time on it. Go.
I do want to say he was the youngest player in this process. There is a lot of upside there. He played in an awkward role in Alabama, but I just think if he came, I mean, obviously he's a lottery pick now. I thought he could have definitely been one next year. So clearly people are banking on his upward potential. And I guess if the Spurs are banking on developing you, I'm going to trust the Spurs on this one. So I do want to address that a little bit. But Josh Primo, everything athletically, did not have great numbers, shot below 40% from three-point land, averaged, I think, 8 points a game. But really, that was Herb Jones's team, and Herb Jones ran the show there quite a bit. But Josh Primo, sky's the limit, but I just think you could have got him later, but apparently maybe not.
I have a hard time believing that he wasn't going to be there later. Like I just.
But anyway, there's some. I am not surprised. I will say this to see Keon Johnson kind of sliding here. He was a player I was not impressed with when I tuned in for the SEC.
Now the measurables though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Physical freak.
Was there anybody that rated higher than him in the combine?
No.
The answer is no.
Yeah. There were some guys that. Oh yeah, there were some guys that put up some insane numbers this year. Jericho Sims, Joe Weiskamp put up some surprising numbers. I mean, there was definitely some interesting guys at the combine, but Keon Johnson is a basketball player built in a lab, basically.
Yes. I mean, he's a 1%. Like he's exponentially. He is as much as we talk about like Derek Jones Jr. as a dunker, just having just this obscene leaping ability. Keon is just that, and then as a lateral guy, as a start-stop guy, a wingspan for his like every single thing. Now, does the basketball IQ rate out? Does the feel for the game rate out? Does the skill level rate out? I don't know.
I've got a question for the both of you. Which was the bigger reach, Primo or everyone's favorite Aussie Thon Maker in the 2016 draft?
Thon Maker had a YouTube highlight reel from 7th grade. Like there was height behind him. I'd say probably Giddey.
Oh, well, that Giddey wasn't 10. Yeah. I don't know. There was a lot of buzz around Thon Maker at that time. That was, but I mean, it was a surprise to see him at 10. I don't know.
Wizards take Kispert.
That's a good pick. So
sorry to interrupt you. Keep going.
No. I think Primo for me, just because I did have him so much lower on my board, but it's tough to say it's a reach when you're looking at future potential. I mean,
I said Giddey. I meant to say Primo. Sorry.
I will circle back to. I really do believe Primo is a lottery pick next year, but obviously a year ahead of schedule, lottery pick this year. So, we're through the lottery now, and this definitely did not shake out. I mean, starting with Scotty Barnes, passing Jalen Suggs. I mean, this really didn't shake out close to what I expected this to look like when we got to the end of this lottery section.
Kispert's the first thing here. That first guy I've seen really. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
like this tracks. So I'll tell this quick little story. 2 years ago, shout out Jamie Hudson, Hud Dog, Gonzaga alum. I was supposed to do something for NBC that night, and it ended up getting pushed away. So I was at the studio. Jamie had to go cover something, and she's like, hey, I always have tickets when Gonzaga comes into town. Do you want to go watch this UP Gonzaga game? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I really wanted to watch Rui. That's what I was going down for. Like, I want to see Rui up close. I want to see, how does he project? How does he look? And in non-surprising fashion, they were beating the brakes off UP. And this kid comes out there in Kispert, and I'm like, man, this guy is coming off screens hard. And you just watch him just elevate and shoot, elevate and shoot, elevate and shoot. It looked like he spent the last 10 years watching J.J. Redick's How to Shoot tape. And it's just full sprint, stop, pull up, bang. Coming off a screen, pull up, bang. And it was like a machine. And you're like, yeah, it's against U of P, but that looks like an NBA shooter. He had a body that you don't get the, I'll be honest, you don't get the white guys who look like they belong on an NBA stage. But he had a man's body early on, and he can move. Like he's not white guy stiff. And I was like, man, if he can develop anything else in his game, that's a career dude right there. But it's kind of funny coming full circle. Rui and Kispert are back together again in Washington. Mm-hmm. Now it's the other Washington on the other side of the country.
I'm curious to see just how he fits into, because now the the Wizards have a bunch of guys who like to stand on the perimeter and take 3-pointers. You got Kuzma, you got Bertans, you got Corey Kispert, and Corey Kispert, like you said, is a hard worker off screens. And I'm interested to see if one that'll rub off on the other two and how they prioritize getting him open looks on the outside, because and really him returning to Rui is perfect for both of them. I mean, Rui gets a little more opportunity to operate underneath with a real legit NBA ready floor spacer on the perimeter there.
For anybody not watching the draft right now, they are running a moment of silence and a clip for Terrence Clark, the Kentucky player, which pretty cool. Pretty cool to see. Definitely didn't expect that to pop in here, but the NBA's usually they miss the beat on a lot of things, but that one that's a good nod. So that's kind of cool. I always never really know how to transfer out of this, so I'll do that. We're up to 160 viewers right now. Thank you. I guess we'll swing back here, use this moment to come back and hit on some questions here in the chat. There was one that was in here. I think it was Reb Beach fan, Rebecca. I don't know. We're gonna go with the issue is that Dame is not that far above a Trae Young, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, a host of other young players. They have no way of surrounding him with an all-star. I'm going to push back on that a little bit in that I think Dame is clearly a level above those guys, but they are catching up. I was not high on Trae until really this playoff run. I think he is one of the most dynamic guards this league has ever seen because he is adding the Steph Dame pull-up game. I don't think he's nearly as strong as Steph or Dame, and that's what inhibits some of that ability. And I don't think he ever will be because he is small. He's legitimately barely 6 foot, if 6 foot. Mitchell and Booker, I think, are different kind of players. But as far as surrounding him with the right guy, yeah, I think that's the problem. I mean, we've hammered on this for years, guys, in the chat and Slack on Blazers Edge. Where do you put Dame in that pecking order of Trae, Book, Mitchell, Luka, like the next, group coming up behind him?
Well, I want to be clear. I think Luka's ahead of him.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
Yeah,
Luka has potential to be a top 10 player of all time.
Yep. I think Trae's got some work to do. I think he took a big step in the right direction, but it's a lot of the stuff that we expected Dame to do and answer some of those questions on the defensive end as far as not being a complete liability. Which when Dame's last season, not really the case, but we did see some improvement prior to last season on that end of the floor. Those guys are, I think, going to get there. They're going to get close, but right now Dame's in his prime, and I think he's doing what those guys are trying to do and that level that they're trying to get to. And Dame has done that with consistency. I mean, he is a consistent all-star. He's, right there in the first team, second team, all NBA voting. So when these guys start doing that consistently, I think then you're talking about that gap being completely closed. But until we get to that point, I think Dame is still in that tier above almost all of those guys.
Yeah. And I wouldn't rule out any of those three getting to where Dame is now. I think Steve's right. I think Luke is on par, if not slightly higher. But yeah, I think Dame is still head and shoulders above those three guys. I think of the three of them that could get there, I think it's Donovan. But Donovan maybe, but time will tell.
You have my attention.
Yeah. I think you're pandering. You're pandering to Dan, and I don't like it.
I love it.
When have I ever pandered to Dan? When?
You're doing it right now. No.
We're getting more people in here. We're gonna kind of my young king here, real quick. Anthony Simons, Woj, please bring back the laser, because famously the pick that the Blazers lasered in on was Anthony Simons.
Don't forget Myers Leonard's laser focus. That's going to be lasered into my brain forever.
Okay.
Whoa!
OKC's moving the 16th pick.
Okay.
See.
There's the action. I think this is where you're going to start seeing it. I thought it was between 18 and 21, but I think this is going to kick it off.
I believe
Now,
the
Houston,
Vegas. Oh, go ahead.
No, Houston is where it's going.
Oh, wow.
What are they getting from Houston?
The Vegas line on trades in the first round was
not Wood.
6.5.
I think over the next 10 picks, 10, 12 picks, you might see that move.
Just right there.
Yeah, this is where I thought it was going to go. I really want to see what OKC is trading a pick just outside the lottery for. I mean, it's not Wood, it's not Gordon.
They've already got Josh Giddey. They can just go home.
Sengun is the pick at 16. So perhaps Houston is looking to move Wood or move Wood to the 4.
Or, I mean, this is a pretty good value to jump up there and get Sengun at this point. I mean, he was a guy that some people, I mean, as early as Sacramento at 9.
Yeah.
So not a terrible pick. Turkish center, a lot of traditional post moves, kind of a throwback. Who knows what
strong
he's
as a bull.
Yeah. Who knows if he's going to be someone who can stay on the floor in all situations and stay competent on an island on defense. But if you're looking for an easy bucket potentially down the road when he develops and comes into his own, I think he's a pretty solid pick here, and I think this is good value, depending on what else they gave up to get there.
I really want to know what the hell they traded for him. That to me is more important than Sengun going to Houston.
Unless it's a future or something like that.
You've got what? New Orleans on the clock now at 17. This is them moving back in order to get off of really 2 bad contracts, Bledsoe and Adams. Whether or not you like Adams or not, because nobody actually likes Eric Bledsoe. Let's be clear. Well, it's not true. Neil Olshey likes Eric Bledsoe.
Don't even tempt me. Don't even tempt me. If Neil goes after Bledsoe.
Somebody said, but hey, he got an all defense team in there somewhere, and I was like, Christ Almighty, we're gonna do this, huh? Okay.
So you think the Pelicans go back to the Duke well here and look at Jalen Johnson, or are we looking elsewhere?
That's where I'm thinking they might go. There's an established relationship there with Zion, and if you're the Pelicans right now, I think you're doing everything you can to keep Zion happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have a ton of questions and comments in here. Adrian, I didn't ask you this when you came in. What do you think, if anything, Portland will do tonight?
That's the $120 million question. Look, my pipe dream was bringing my fellow Melburnian to Portland and Ben Simmons. They'll probably get into the second round. I mean, we only have to look at Neil's track record to see what is likely to happen.
They won't get into the second round. I'm nearly certain of it.
Yeah, I think Brandon kind of touched on it before. I think I wanted Neil to surprise me, and I still hope that he does. But I'm not holding my breath.
All right, so I just closed the poll on will the Blazers trade CJ tonight. Can you guys guess what it was?
92% no.
87%. How dare you?
Dude, what would you do if he did trade him and the pick and it was to get Cam Thomas? I would love to be on air with you if that happened.
Well, you remember, and I'll pull the curtain back a little bit. You remember 2016.
Mm-hmm.
If they did that here, it would be worse.
No.
For anybody who wants to talk about revisionist history, don't get it twisted. 2016, I was furious in Las Vegas, screaming. And it was a house full of writers, Denver Nuggets, and Phoenix Suns executives. And they were all laughing at Neil Olshey.
16 or 17?
16.
Right.
when the Alan Crabb and Evan Turner offers came through.
Yeah, of course.
It was bad. You had executives from teams laughing.
I went to my first summer league house experience was the next year, and they were still talking about your performance that day. So you definitely made an impression, my friend.
It was an abject disaster. And
I think people were actually just doing like a wellness check. Like they're going, "Is Dan all right?
Is he
I
dead?
see he's not here for Blazers Edge, and you are." So I'm like, "Oh, he's fine. What happened?"
Just an update. So Houston is sending OKC 2 future firsts.
Perfect. OKC, more future first.
Jesus Christ.
Stockpiling.
I think we're going to just tune in, and the draft's going to be from Oklahoma City.
It's going to be live from Oklahoma City. It's Sam Presti.
Yeah. Bobby Marks, starting in 2020, the Thunder will have 17 future first-round picks. Crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, I wrote a piece a few weeks ago about late first-round picks versus high first-round picks.
Yep.
I mean, you can have 25 picks in the 20s, and it's not really going to get you anything unless you're able to get higher up in the draft.
Wow. When is OKC going to go in?
When Damian Lillard requests a trade.
I just
When Josh Giddey becomes a man.
There you go.
Well, you know what? This is really the play. This is the play. They're going for Wemby.
Oh yeah.
That's what this is. This is the Wemby play, and then you figure it out. If Wembanyama is who people think he is, and judging from the was it the U19, he is every bit of that dude.
Yeah, he outplayed Chet Holmgren in a big way in that game.
At
But, I mean,
7'3",
Mhm.
moving like a baby deer, just
Yeah.
doing things somebody that big should never be able to do. When this show's over, guys, please go down a YouTube rabbit hole of Victor Wembanyama and just be blown away. That's the only thing I can tell you. If you haven't already seen him, it is truly, truly incredible.
And while you're on YouTube and you're looking up draft stuff, treat yourself. Go back in time. Look at Luke Babbitt's pre-Nevada high school highlight reel. It is to this day
Luke,
my favorite thing to watch.
It is
Every
great.
time every draft comes up, that is part of my routine.
The
to get
Chalupa hero.
in the mindset for it. It is him just blasting what looks like 10-year-olds, and it is one of my favorite to this day videos to watch.
if you're talking Luke Babbitt, let's talk about Nolan Smith.
That was too soon. Still too soon for Nolan Smith.
Nolan and Elliott. At least
I don't
Elliott.
think so.
had-
Kenneth Fareed's out in the league, so we can talk about Nolan now.
So, Alex Kennedy, Oklahoma City Thunder could have as many as 41 picks and 20 first-rounders over the next 7 years if you
Gee.
include their 21 picks.
Jesus.
Just like that's what, over 15% of the total first-round picks.
I mean it's like you're running a 2K team at this point where you're just throwing first rounders in there. It's
That's
crazy.
insanity.
Sam Hinkie would be proud. Sam Hinkie would be incredibly proud.
Crazy.
Somebody had something in here. I think it was Reb Beach fan. This team is such a wreck. An owner who trades in ivory and has her bodyguards wear thongs. Soap opera star GM who can't make a move and almost no assets outside the guy we're trying to build around. I swear to God, guys, that's not me on a burner. Something we haven't talked about, and I'm using the collective we and not just us right here on this live show, is a distinct advantage that the Blazers had for 30 years that is no longer there. And that's Paul Allen. Jody Allen has not made a true public appearance or a statement since taking ownership of the team. I do not believe that she has the same level of investment, belief, or desire to run this team. A distinct advantage that the Portland Trailblazers had, even though they were in a small market, was that Paul Allen, this was his baby. And he genuinely cared about winning. And I firmly believe that if Paul Allen were here right now, you would not have Neil Olshey running this team. C.J. McCollum would have been traded, and Terry Stotts probably would have been fired 2 years ago. I think the second time around, I think they would have cleaned house if PA was still around. And I wonder what you guys feel like when you're looking at this team right now, if that advantage truly is gone, or I am overreacting.
Can I ask a question? And this might be a silly question as an outsider. Which did Paul hold closer, the Seahawks or the Blazers?
You want it or me?
You go ahead.
So the Blazers were his pursuit. It was something he was very interested in. He went and bought the Blazers. Typically, how his purchase of the Seahawks is viewed, it was a civic duty to the city of Seattle for him to keep that team in Seattle. So don't get me wrong, very passionate, very active owner there, but his first love was basketball and the Blazers specifically. To Dan's question, I don't know if that advantage is gone, which it certainly looks like it is. It doesn't mean it's gone forever.
No.
These teams, I mean, you saw Minnesota sell this year. This team specifically if it ever gets sold, is going to go for top dollar. It's going to stay in Portland.
It's not going anywhere.
NBA.
I'm going to step in real quick. Anybody in here? We have 161 right now. This team is not going anywhere ever.
Yeah, it has been a model franchise since it came in here. I mean, there was a rough patch in the early 2000s.
A whole 4 years.
But for the most part, they have been a model small market franchise. They have remained competitive during that whole arc. They have done things the right way for the most part. They're going to get a top owner here. And I think there's potentially the name that we've heard over and over again is Ellison. And if he comes in and buys this team, you're talking about having another owner with very deep pockets, another
money
person who is very competitive.
Yeah.
So if it is gone, I'm not terrified that it won't be back sometime soon. So I try not to get too worked up about it. I mean, there's moves that this team can make. And like you said, if this team really is going to change directions drastically, and if that does involve a trade of the major stars on this team, I just think the first move you have to make is make sure Neil Olshey is not the person executing those trades.
That's huge. There's a question or a point in here. Stephen Kohler, not only is the PA advantage gone, but there's a very real fear that whoever buys this team might somehow be worse than Jody. No, there's not.
I don't know. I mean, it can always get worse.
It can.
I mean, we're going through a coaching change.
Here's the thing. Ellison has been vetted by the league. And it's pretty clear that unless things change drastically, he would be the right of first refusal on the Portland Trailblazers will be his. And now here's the thing. My priorities when you're looking at ownership of this team changing hands, is number one, I don't want weak money. Get out of here with your Tillman Fertitta broke bucks. Peace. I don't want you. I don't want to worry about your liquidity. Ellison's one of the 5 or 6 richest people on the planet. Buying this team would not make a dent at all. I want dumb money because I don't want there to ever be an issue about whether or not you have to move something around to make sure you can meet payroll. Like that.
Is he from that part of the world? Is he from that part of the state?
He is from the Northwest. He is from Seattle.
And is he passionate about basketball?
He's passionate about owning a team.
Right.
And those rich dudes get real competitive about stuff like this.
Yeah.
So.
And number 1, money. Number 2, money. Number 3, money. I want somebody I want this to be their toy. Like, I want them to be like, I want them to Mark Cuban it. I want them to be entirely and wholly invested. I don't want somebody with dumb money that just messes with things like James Dolan. Every now and then, I'm going to do this and go off on a tangent. Either be invested or don't. That's realistically what I want to see. I see somebody in here put Merritt Paulson. Listen, I like Merritt. I think he's done great with the Timbers. He has nowhere near the capital necessary to buy the Blazers. And to be honest, I don't want him being invested in the Blazers. I want him to stay focused on the Timbers. I think that's a good thing for him.
Sorry, Dan. Trey Murphy to the Pelicans.
Yeah, I saw that one. They trade back and they get a shooter. God bless him. Listen, I want to see Zion stay in New Orleans. I do. I want to see small markets succeed and do all those things.
Trey Murphy, one of the better shooters in this entire class.
And he's big.
Yep. 6'9". First couple of years were at Rice, played this last year at Virginia after transferring. He's an over 40% shooter from three, but what you really like him and where that efficiency still might come up is one of the best free throw shooters in the entire country world, I would say. 92% last year. Typically that is a good indicator that your shooting touch is there and it will continue to improve or at least maintain when you come to the professional level.
There are two things in college basketball that are indicative of NBA success. What are they, Steve?
Well, free throw shooting, and I think the second one's open for interpretation, but I always say rebounding.
Yes.
Rebounding usually translates.
You can look at, guys at small schools, perfect examples, and yes, one of them's a Hall of Famer, and one of the other one's a multi-time All-Star, but you probably know where I'm going to go with this. Louisiana Tech. Karl Malone, Paul Millsap. Both led the nation in rebounding. Both came into the league and were exceptional rebounders.
To a smaller extent, Kenneth Farid carved out a very nice career, best rebounder in the country as well.
Anytime you see a guy,
I thought it was too soon. I thought it was too soon to talk about Nolan Smith.
Nolan Smith.
Anytime you see a guy successfully shoot free throws in the college ranks with volume and rebound with volume, those two things translate. Always. I have yet to see the exception to those rules. Now, there's plenty of other things that can. Playmaking instincts, three-point shooting. That's a little bit weird. But I'm trying to think if there's any other. Sam Presti traded a draft pick for 2 draft picks. There's nothing else to add at this moment. All right, so we're getting to the point where you could see.
Don't say it.
The Blazers move in. We're getting to that point.
We're getting to the point where we can say we're getting to that point.
Yes.
What are they giving up? What are they giving up to get into the late first round?
You could see cash or a future second.
In the late first
combination
round.
of the two. These picks between 18, 19, and back are things that I've heard a lot of teams are willing to move off of because it's about who you want in those roles. Somebody put Caleb Swannick was a rebounding beast too. Yeah, and his rebounding percentage in the NBA was great. It's the one thing he did really well. That's the thing. It's like it's just the difference in rebounding now isn't nearly that important.
Foot speed in that scenario is very, very much important. It's like I'm going to say the same thing about another Big Ten guy, Luka Garza. Great rebounder.
Can't move to save his life.
If he makes it to the NBA, probably going to have a good rebounding rate, but that doesn't mean he's going to be a long-time player. I mean,
would you rather see him play in the NBA or just go be a god in China?
Or I don't know. I think he's got to come and try to play in the NBA, but I could see him having a long career overseas somewhere.
Yeah. It's very easy for me to see Luka Garza getting post feeds from Mario Hezonja for Olympiacos. Like it's very easy for me to draw that line. The GOAT. I love some Rio. Danny, would you be upset the Blazers didn't move into the second round? Upset? No, but I think it's honestly irresponsible because they can't sit here and fill out the roster every year with 6-7 vet minimum guys. You have to have something in the pipeline, particularly as a small market. Steve, I know you're kind of in the same mindset with this.
I would like to see them trade into the second round if they have a very specific player in mind. I will say I'm not going to be heartbroken as long as they maximize their two-way contract slots with people who aren't related to Damian Lillard and people you don't sign with a month left to go.
Oh, weird. It's like they haven't done that at all.
If you truly invest in upside players there, I think this draft has some guys that are going to fall out of this process, but there are going to be competition for those players. And I've already mentioned one guy over and over again is Scotty Lewis out of Florida. If he falls out of this draft, the Blazers should do everything possible to try to get him on a 2-way contract or even a couple years guaranteed to beat out the rest of the market. He has athleticism that lines up with lottery picks. He just has a completely unpolished game, but those are the type of big swings I want the Blazers to take, especially for what he could potentially bring on the defensive end, where you're talking about a 2 through 4 versatility on the defensive end and a guy who is just pure quick twitch muscle. But I think they trade back into the second round because I would imagine they have someone specifically targeted that they don't want to compete with on the undrafted free agent market. But the Sixers already kind of set what the price is going to be to get, probably 45 and back. So,
which I thought was kind of high, to be honest.
Yeah,
I know we're an inflated level market, but
it was a little high at 53.
I was like, that's like a 31 to 38 range, not a 50 range. I was a little bit surprised. Yes to Scotty Lewis. What about Herb Jones? There's a lot of names that I think are going to be in there.
I think Trey Mann just got picked up.
Yeah, that's a good pick by OKC.
Another guard.
Yeah.
What's going on with SGA there?
It certainly looks like there's smoke there, to say the least. The Knicks are trading 19 to Charlotte for a future first.
Ooh.
The Knicks.
I wonder if they were looking to move that pick the second Duarte came off the board. That's kind of what everyone was rumored that's really who the Knicks were hoping were going to fall to them.
And Mann's gone too.
Yeah, and Mann's off the board as well.
Does Charlotte double up here and go with Usman? Makes sense.
Yep.
It makes sense.
Cover your bases.
It's a bit of a.
I mean, I could have saw them going there at 11 when they went Book Night, and maybe that's what they thought they were going to do too.
But
initially.
Then they said Book Night fall in their lap.
Yeah. Maybe they said Guzman, but now that he's there again or was available and within reach, maybe that is what the plan
Wow. Kai Jones.
Wow.
Okay. Kai is my sleeper. Kai is my guy.
I'm glad to know we disagree on something still.
Listen, man. Texas 7-footers who can do things. There's a pretty good record of those.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
I mean, that's why I like Jericho Sims so much.
Listen, I am now I'm committing now fully. The Charlotte Hornets are my new League Pass team 100%. Memphis is going to be on my second TV, League Pass laptop dedicated to the Charlotte Hornets. That is unabashed. I mean, woof.
Who makes their choices, Jordan or Cho?
Okay, do you want to know the honest answer to this?
Of course.
Because more often than not, Jordan overrules. So in the 2017 draft, Cho and the staff there wanted Donovan Mitchell. Jordan wanted Malik Monk.
Wait, with the price being set right now on picks, I mean, we're not completely out of the woods. If there is somebody they are absolutely in love with on this board that they could move up to get.
Yes.
I mean, but I don't know if that guy's there right now. I mean, Garaba could maybe, but could be an interesting piece for the Blazers with some professional history coming in and playing. But I just don't know if there's. I think you can get an NBA ready guy in the second round still, and I don't know what the upside to jump back in here would be, because Keon Johnson is interesting going forward, but he's not going to help your team win this next year.
Not now, no. You know what I just realized? Sharif's still on the board.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little surprising.
Guys, I've got to head off because my boss knows where I am.
All right, Adrian, thanks for hopping on, man.
Yes, thank you, Adrian.
Adrian, go ahead and plug your Twitter and where they can find you real quick.
Yeah, so Blazers Edge, I've actually got a weekly column known as Adrian's Angles. But you can get me on Twitter on @Bernecich. That's Bernecich. And yeah, that's it.
Well, thanks for hopping in, buddy. Go Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi.
Go the Boomers.
Hey, listen, man. They looked a little skittish the other night. I'm just saying they didn't look great.
They've got to play Giddy more. That's why.
Oh well, now that he's drafted and he's got his insurance, they can figure it out. All right, Adrian, get out of here, and we'll catch you later, buddy.
See you guys. Bye.
All right, once he hops out of here. There we go. Transition. What? It's ready to go and it works? No way. It's almost like Danny finally figured out technology.
We did it.
Mom, we did it. Let's see. SGA smoke. Yeah, no. It looks like OKC is not locked in on maybe paying SGA that max. I am
certainly not looking that way with how they're drafting.
Yeah, that's a lot of guards. That's you know what? Ian Levy at Hickory High always does my favorite GIF draft grades. So far, pretty on point. The one that he used for Memphis at 10 was fantastic, and just same with Primo. This year, he used all Matthew McConaughey reaction gifs.
Oh, nice.
So it's wonderful. It's pure joy. Keith, Al, would you pay SGA a max deal? Yes, I would. Let me pull up his.
I just saw Jalen Green's suit for the first time. And
oh, did you?
Holy moly, that is not a good look.
Yeah, no, the stripes are. Ew. So Shea last year in 35 games, decent volume 3. So he's now a career 37% 3-point shooter, which is what people were afraid of. Can he shoot threes? And he has taken so far in his career 560. Now, if you listen to any of the analytics guys out there, the number used to be 750. It has come down with the amount of volume that we have seen. That as far as your normalization, basically we've learned that Shea can shoot the ball. He is an 80% free throw shooter, which is right in line with the CJ McCollum. He's a 37% 3-point shooter, which is right in line with CJ McCollum. So if you're talking about the things that CJ does well, that you hold in high regard, he is a significantly more athletic, more explosive player than CJ has or ever will be. He's also 6'7". He is an elite floor runner and rim finisher. He is a good defensive player, which you can't say about many kids. That is for damn sure. I would say he's an okay rebounder. I don't think he's going to be a triple-double threat. He's a plus overall shooter. If you look at his advanced stats, I'm trying to pull up his true shooting percentage. His career true shooting percentage is 58%. Good is 55%. So he's above good. His free throw rate for his career is quite literally double that of CJ McCollum. His true shooting percentage in 35 games this year was 62, which is elite for a guard who is taking and making threes. If you're asking me, am I going to pay 22-year-old Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who put up 24, 6, and 5 at 22 years old, running a team? Yes, I am fully committed to paying Shai that money. That is what you're hoping for, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, at his age and the experience he's going to bring in, I think if you are OKC, though, and you're not really sure what your timeline is going to look like, I do see some reservation as far as if you can move him here. But, I mean, he's the type of player that gets that contract, that you pay that contract, you
don't blink.
10 out of 10 times, yeah.
I know some people have takes on certain guys. I think people associate Shai with RJ Barrett. because they're Canadian guards that they kind of rode the same hype train. Shea is a significantly better player than RJ at everything. Shot creation, finishing, getting downhill, shooting. Like, I don't. If you want to say RJ's a little bit bigger, cool. But, I mean, would you take RJ over Shea in any regard?
No, not right now.
I don't think ever, in my opinion. I don't.
RJ was, before we knew what Zion was going to be.
Okay,
RJ
that was the
RJ
first Hoop Summit you came to was that one, right?
Yep, RJ and Zion.
Remember everybody talking about RJ, and what did I keep saying? He's not anywhere near the same planet as Zion. And everybody's like, RJ fixed his jumper. He's Tim Hardaway with a handle. And excuse me, Tim Hardaway Jr. with a handle, which is a good player. But can he get above that? I don't know. Do you think he runs past that?
I've maintained staying pretty high on RJ Barrett. I just think he's got to get some of the right players around him. I think he took a step definitely in the right direction last year compared to his rookie season,
particularly.
But yeah, he's got to figure that out. That's always what it's been. Now, going back to that Hoop Summit, one thing that I think we all walked away with agreeing is I did not understand the Cam Reddish hype then. I didn't understand it a year later. I think he had a nice.
What's the most you would pay for him right now? What's the most you would give up for him off the Blazers roster? What is the most you would give up for Cam?
Boy, I don't know. If in a perfect world where Dame doesn't expect the roster to get significantly better, I would say just taking an upside swing. I'd say, you're maybe packaging a protected first down the road and maybe the matching salary, and that's it. And I'm talking about like a pretty heavily protected first, maybe. So
you're still not a believer?
No,
Okay.
I'm not.
There was a couple questions in here. Who's the biggest winner, loser so far in this draft? What do you think, Steve?
I would say probably the Warriors, just by having Kuminga, probably the least NBA ready player available, land with them. I think it probably puts them on there. Now down the road, potentially he outdoes that, but you're walking away with Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. And I think that could turn out to be a very good draft class. I think Moses Moody is a great pick at 14. But when you're looking at what they entered the night as those were marquee trade pieces to bring in a real star, that ship has sailed now that there are names assigned to those picks. So unless you had someone who was really into both of those guys on their draft board, but I think just for them, the ship has sailed for the Ben Simmons talk, potentially the Bradley Beal talk down the road. I think they're walking away here, and they're going to have to find a way to really build around the veteran part of this roster while keeping one eye on the present and one eye on the future, which is a tough line to walk. So I think they're kind of my early loser. I mean, obviously the Josh Primo pick seems super early for the Spurs, but I'm going to trust the Spurs on this. Primo definitely does have a lot of upside, but I think they did take him a little early.
I'm going to go with Charlotte.
Oh.
Book Knight and Kai. I like that.
I thought we were going losers. Sorry.
No, I'm taking my winner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm loser. I'm going to go San Antonio. I think that one's. I think they picked a guy that quite literally could have been. Listen, San Antonio has done good in the draft. Their team right now is made up of dudes that they have drafted and targeted and done well. With Dejounte, with Derek White, with Lonnie Walker. Like they find players. They typically trade back to find those players. Mm-hmm. That's what makes me kind of I don't know about this. But my winner, Charlotte. Charlotte. I think they hit a home run.
I mean, it's mainly just because they got Plumlee, right?
I think they did a really good job of what they have. And speaking of Jalen Johnson earlier, Jalen has gone to the Hawks, and the reason I bring that up is they're probably looking to move one of those young wings out of there.
Yeah,
and it's let's be honest, it's definitely gonna be Reddish.
Yeah. Yeah, Hunter is definitely the winner of that group.
Woj tweeted out, Atlanta is keeping its pick in 20 and Duke's Jalen Johnson is the top of its board. So I'm a little bit surprised. I'm surprised they didn't maybe look at a guard there, but I don't. Is there anybody there that you trust to run a team with Trey off the floor on the board?
Let me see who's still there. I mean, it really depends on how you view the information that's come out about Jared Butler from Baylor, the other Baylor guard. But yeah, as far as someone you're trusting to slot in, the other guy I've always kind of really liked is Illinois' Ao Dozunmo.
Don't get it wrong.
I know it's real hard to. I mean, I did love that they had Kofi, and I'm going to continue to call it Cockburn. But Ao is a really tall combo guard that continually got better as a floor general for Illinois.
And I just like saying Ao. Ao.
Yeah. So I those are my two guards. I guess and really it depends on how you feel about Butler's information coming into this.
Somebody just asked, has Sprague been on already? Yep, Sprague was on a little bit earlier. You'll see a lot more of him. I made the announcement earlier. Sprague will be my co-host on the new podcast that we'll be launching this week. We're now in hour 2, and we've been hovering around 160, 175 people the whole time. So thank you, everybody. This has been awesome. If you haven't already, please sub the channel, whether you're watching on Blazers Edge, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're watching on Twitch. I'm going to keep trying to put content out on as many platforms as I can. I have a lot coming. Sprague and I are really excited about the podcast. You will still see guests. Steve will still come on the podcast. I will drag him out to do it. We have a couple players slotted already. We have, I already said, I've got Henry Abbott booked for next week. Obviously, that's going to be very relevant considering what's been going on in the NBA news world. So if you've got questions, comments, thoughts about that, hit me up on Twitter, DM me. I will probably open that up and let everybody know that it's coming. But yeah, I'm really, really excited to see what we have coming up. Dylan, any intel what Neil's cooking up, if anything? Well, unfortunately, number one, my nose itches because painkillers are a nightmare. So I apologize for everybody for that. But number two, everybody I've talked to just said flat out, look for a second-round pick. And that's all I've gotten. And as things sit right now, that's what I expect. I don't expect anything more than that. That's...
Yeah. And that lines up with kind of what I heard from someone who's been right on a few things so far this offseason. They also said it's pretty quiet as far as bigger moves go for Portland coming into tonight. But again, the strong belief that a second-round pick is going to come tonight.
And this is the area where you could see some buy-in. Josh Book, Danny, are you putting together a Patreon, or is there some ways for us to support you? Number one, subscribing, following on YouTube. As you guys may have noticed during the stream and watching videos lately, you're getting hit with commercials and ads now. Thank you to everybody who has followed. It's monetized now. So thank you. That's actually a huge thing. Oh, my goodness. My nose is driving me crazy right now. As far as support, I just opened up the top-level support tier on YouTube. If you're on the homepage on the channel, you can sub and become a super sub. I may look at doing some Patreon stuff, but that'll be further down the road when I've got more and more content and more time dedicated to it. With the surgery pending, I don't have anything really huge outside of the podcast and the stuff that I've got on Dame. So, and that's actually a big project I've been working on for a couple of weeks. I've kind of hinted at some stuff here. Sub Gum, what if anyone wants to do a deal with Neil? I have hinted at this over the years. I believe part of the problem is that Neil doesn't have a ton of friends in the league. And that's why you see him consistently dealing with the same GMs. Sacramento, Cleveland, Orlando. You aren't getting good players in return because, number one, he doesn't have great relationships in the league. And number two, he doesn't have things that other teams want. And those are both things that, whether or not he's in Portland, Oregon, that he controls. And that's, again, another million other reasons why it's just, Neil! It's one of those things where it's like, It's a nightmare, Lindsay. I have YouTube Premium. Well, there you go. Perfect. You'll love to see it. Any chance Ben Simmons or Siakam for CJ trade happens, or they're both getting shipped out soon from Jackson? Number one, if you're an R6 and you're a motorcycle guy, shouts to you. My last bike was an R6, and then I realized I had a speed wobble at over 140 miles an hour, and I was going to die. And that was the last time I rode a bike. But I was on my R6, and that was a fun time. But I believe Simmons and Siakam are going to be traded for each other. That is ultimately where I fall on that level. I think both teams have what the other wants. Toronto wants a bit of a soft reset. Philadelphia wants in prime guys with the experience. Kyle Lowry, Pascal Siakam being perfect in that regard. I think it's a little bit of a square peg round hole, or at least octagon peg round hole for Siakam and Harris. But if you've got Lowry and Curry, you've got additional floor spacing. You've got 5 guys who can create. If you've got Siakam, Harris, Lowry, Embiid, you don't really care who the other guy is on the floor defensively. Like Seth Curry can just take possessions off. Like you can hunt him all you want when you've got 4 other plus defenders. I mean, where do you fall on that one, Steve? Do you think that's ultimately where Simmons and Siakam go?
I don't see the need to get the Blazers involved in that type of a trade.
No.
If it is even a 3-way, I mean, potentially you're looking at something for Tobias Harris, but it also, just from a size standpoint, you're looking at a team that is going to have an abundance of size in all their front court positions with Tobias Harris, Pascal Siakam, and Joel Embiid, and some small ball potential with Siakam at the 5 positions we've seen him thrive at, where he is super versatile, and I think he can also hold his own at small forward. So
I'm going to cut you off real quick because we have a conflicting Woj Shams battle. Round 2. Woj says New York is trading number 1 to 21 to Detroit. Sources Shams Clippers are selecting at number 21 via Knicks.
Let the games begin.
Dum-dum-dum-dum. This is interesting. Woj Shams back at it again. But Shams says that it's gonna be Keon, which
makes sense.
Clippers looking for another young wing, explosive athlete. That kind of tracks with what they have tried to do. I would not be surprised if it is a Clipper, that's as a result of them losing one of their big wings, right? Mm-hmm. Say Nick Batum.
Yep. And I mean, really, when you're talking Keon Johnson, similar type profile that they've had really work out with Terrence Mann as far as just really a physical, specimen that has a bunch of length, really good athletically, trends well or projects well on the defensive end. Keon Johnson just kind of has to fill in the holes in his game, some of the fundamentals. And my biggest takeaway knock on Keon Johnson is he was tabbed as a top player, top prospect, but you could watch a Tennessee game and not notice him at all for long stretches. So
the BJ Boston of the SEC.
Yeah, exactly. So
okay, this round goes to Shams. Woj, clarify. New York is trading with Clippers for number 21.
Oh,
interesting.
He hates that.
Ooh, that. Wow, full Kobe White. Wow, are you kidding me? Wow, that's the rare Woj retraction.
Yeah.
Interesting. The Wizards are currently discussing trading the number 22 pick. Will it be the Portland Trail Blazers? No, not yet. I think 24 is where the Blazers could move in. Do you think there's anything above that?
I don't think they're getting into the first.
Don't think so. Okay.
I don't think so. I could be wrong. Maybe wrong, but I think now we're looking at a board now where
chaos.
Yeah,
chaos reigns supreme.
You could realistically think that you're going to be able to get your guy in the second round at this point.
I used to write a race prepped R6 at PIR. I love that Rev Happy R6. Listen, man, I love me an R6. I will ride and die for my Yamaha crew. Gixxers can bite me. I know there's probably somebody in here who's just a Gixxer fanboy, so I just don't care. I saw a question in here earlier. Danny, do you know if Kevin Pritchard still holds a grudge with the Blazers and won't make a deal? I know it was active a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
That I know. Whether or not that it still exists, hard to say. I think it was probably easier, quote unquote, easier when Paul was still alive. I mean, that's who KP had the grudge with, right? So, but now I don't know. I don't think so. Where do I go to pay money and support this channel? When you go to the landing page, I think there's a thing for join or super sub or something like that. I just turned it on the other day. So listen, if you want to throw money at me, go for it. I'll gladly take it. But in the meantime, just thank you for the support. I genuinely appreciate it. So Wizards are selecting Isaiah Jackson.
You know, when in doubt, bet on Kentucky. So
it's how far do you think BJ falls?
Whew.
Does he get drafted?
I mean, that's honestly that's where I'm at. I would not be completely shocked if we're talking about where he's going on a 2-way contract later tonight or tomorrow.
Which is crazy because he was top 6 coming out of high school.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, one of the top players in the whole class. So, but anyway, Dan, I'm gonna have to hop off. I got a kiddo.
It's that time for you to put kids down.
Yeah.
Go ahead and plug what you got, Steve.
At Steve D Hoops on Twitter. I appreciate everybody who checked in for my draft coverage this year. A lot of profiles out. Hopefully, I get lucky. I break my 2-year cold streak and Neil selects somebody I have wrote about. Also, I'm the co-host of the Church of Roy podcast. If you hop on there, check that out. It runs, it's Dan one day, a couple days later I come out. So if you don't mind my voice,
there are a lot of them.
Go ahead and subscribe there. You can find us at Church of Roy Pod.
Somebody said the other day you have a great radio voice.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who said that?
It was in the comments of the podcast.
Oh, okay.
I was going through it. I was like, "Yeah, we do have some good voices at least."
Yeah,
we're a bunch of ugly dudes, but we got good voices.
Yeah. I've been told I have a voice for writing and a face for radio.
Hey,
so
listen, man. My wife and my parents both said the same thing. So there you go.
All right. I appreciate everybody. Stay in here. Dan's going to have you taken care of. So.
I will. Maybe I'll bring some other people on. And listen, Harris and Lindsay, both. So I don't even know how it works. And they've got the super chat working already. Look at that. $2 for Harrison, $5 for Lindsay. I'll split the tips with you, Steve. You get out of here, buddy.
Bye.
Whoa, we're going to go super zoom. I need Steve to get off the call so it actually checks out correctly. There we go. All right. We need to blow this up and fix everything. Bear with me here, folks. We'll get through this one together. I'm learning how to use this just a little bit better each and every time I do. This is what happens when you're old and you start trying to figure this stuff out. Right. I had the other one pre-staged well enough and it worked. This one, not so much. But we will survive. Okay, I'm going to do this, and then we're going to bump it up. There we go. That way we can really highlight the crutches in the background. God. How's everybody doing tonight? Everybody doing good? Doing good in the chat? You love to see it. I am genuinely stoked. The turnout tonight has been awesome. Excuse me, Josh, SP. You guys are awesome. Look at you guys. Just fantastic. You know what? We gotta make this picture better. We gotta downsize this a little bit better. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. That's better. Listen, you guys are awesome. What? Counting Danny's nose hairs. Yeah, that's probably a problem. I hope they left out Take My Money. Keith, thank you. Look, you guys, are you kidding me? This is awesome. Like I said, I just turned this on. Like, I'll be honest, like, this has been the last couple of weeks have been really, 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 really hard for me. For those of you that don't know, I have had, to be honest, to be totally frank, really shitty knees. I've had multiple knee surgeries. I've spent a lot of time in physical therapy, literal years, and I have been a abject mental disaster, and this has been an awesome outlet, and you guys have been so supportive and so awesome and so encouraging and everything. Even when the basketball side of things would typically bother me more, you guys have been there. Like, whether it's these live shows or it's the comments on the videos or the comments on Blazers Edge, just going back and forth. I genuinely love this stuff. And I've got some other stuff going on that I can't talk about yet because it's not official or it's not for sure. But I genuinely love doing this. And it is to be totally and purely unfiltered because, let's be honest, I can't say the things that I wanted to say on TV all the time. And that's not like a oh, they were muzzling me or filtering me. I have to choose my words a little bit more carefully in that audience. Everybody in here, we are doing bad. I want some Blazers moves. If a CJ trade happens, do you think it happens at the start of free agency? I think if you're talking about moving CJ McCollum, you're probably looking at closer to the free agency period. But it's a little interesting. So the Wizards also received number 31 along with Aaron Holiday from Indiana. Huh. Interesting. So that number 22 pick, that Isaiah Jackson, also went to the Pacers. You know, it's kind of funny. I think I saw Aaron Holiday looped into more trades than I could possibly count anytime the Pacers were around, just because the salary filler just kind of brought it all together. That explains the crutch in the background. Yeah, no, legitimately, guys. My Peloton is my crutch holder right now. Chris DeJesus, is there anything on Grant in Detroit? So I will caveat this with the last time that I checked in, which was a couple days ago with Detroit. They are perfectly happy and wanting to keep Jeremy Grant, but if presented with the right opportunity, they would move off of Jeremy Grant. So their timeline now is reset with Cade. That's unequivocal. But if, let's say that the number 4 pick was available for CJ McCollum, I was told that if the Blazers redirected 4 to Detroit, that, Jeremy Grant could be on the table, which is why I didn't believe that 4 was ever a real thing. And the Rockets are now taking Garuba. Okay. Interesting. This draft has been crazy. I don't know what to. I do not know what to expect. That's that man's a truck. So we'll see how that one goes. Danny's so beat up right now. Yeah. So let's do a quick Cody. Thank you for the $10. That's insane. Thank you. That's awesome. And Lindsay has been now managing anytime I write for. God, Lindsay, how long have you been doing now? 2 years? 3 years? It all blends together. I have a torn MCL. I have probably a torn meniscus. The swelling was so bad last week that they couldn't do the scans. They couldn't test it. I am now going in for another MRI on that next Thursday. And thankfully, I have incredible care. I'm actually going to downsize this so you guys aren't just staring at my giant melon the entire time. I'm actually being taken care of by the good folks at Rebound. And I'm thrilled, to be honest. I'm lucky that my wife works for the state and has, I had good insurance. My wife has insane insurance. So in that regard, I am very, very lucky. But beyond the torn knee, I have a pretty serious issue with my Achilles. It's called a longitudinal tear. So if you're thinking Wes Matthews or Kobe or Clay or anything like that, when you're talking about Achilles, you're talking about a rupture left to right. If you put my Achilles in thirds on my right foot, the innermost third is gone. And they have to go through a bunch of stuff to figure it all out. Josh Christopher, also on Houston's board. Interesting. Oh, that's right. They have the back-to-back picks, courtesy of the Portland Trailblazers. So there's your first pick right there for the Portland Trailblazers, what could have been. Let's see. Danny is the Zach Collins of Blazers Edge. Yes, I am beat to hell and always injured. This will be surgery number 10 and 11 if I get the full Achilles work, which it sounds like a larger process. The P. Roy of Blazer Media. Listen, if you're going to compare me to anybody, that's the one I'll take. I've got a bunch of really cool Brandon Roy stories because he was kind of my introduction into the team coming back. J. Allen Clark with $10. You guys, thank you. Like, the money is one thing. Like it's great. Don't get me wrong, but just like the general idea that you guys even consider it is genuinely blowing me away. Again, I'll give you a quick peek behind the curtain. I have the worst case of imposter syndrome that you will ever have. I have literally over 1,000 podcasts. I have over 500 TV appearances on my own show and dozens on others. I have hundreds, if not thousands, of radio appearances, both locally and nationally. And every single day, I have questioned whether or not I could go do this, whether people would care what I had to say, whether my content was good enough, whether the video stuff that I do is better than anything a high schooler could put out. I mean, there's so many things. And so for you guys to be so supportive, it is very cool. And I don't know how to say it other than that. It is very, very cool. So now the Houston Rockets have landed Jalen Green, Sengun, Garuba, and Christopher. Pretty good reset. Had you in the background as I work away. Lots of exciting stuff. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it, Davey. Thank you. Is there any possibility for Ingram for CJ with a young player picks? Unfortunately, no. It wouldn't make sense from a basketball perspective if CJ were a couple years younger. But they need somebody to walk that line that matches Zion's timeline a little bit better. I think Ingram Zion's good. I just think that you could probably do better as part of a better shooting group. But we'll see. Listen, if the Blazers reset, they could do far worse than Brandon Ingram in that pile of picks that come with that. Cody, another $5. You guys, you're killing me. Thank you. Been listening to you since you joined Dave on BE after Phil Nason's. Always appreciated your sides. You help me appreciate the game more and more intelligently. Honestly, man, that's the best compliment that you could give me. I want people to. I don't want people to take my opinions and take them as their own. Yes, I'm very opinionated. I have formed mine, but it's over years of work and film and discussion and talk. What I want is for people to be smarter about the game, to look at things differently, to enjoy something differently. It's why I get stuck on stupid stuff like Damian Lillard being bad at throwing alley-oops. Like, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter of, like, that particular thing is not that great. But it does matter because it opens some insights into things about how Damian Lillard works as a creator, where he's better as a playmaker and where he struggles, which, again, this is a bit of a plug because it's exactly one of the things that I'm talking about the next couple weeks. How did you get into this type of work? Long story short, right place, right time. It's something I always wanted to do. It got to the point where I had to do it. And I think that's how you're successful in this industry, is that you have to do these things. I'm going to tilt this back down a little bit. There we go. This is an industry that everybody wants to do. Genuinely. You have to do it. Full disclosure, Ben Gulliver of Blazers Edge fame and Sports Illustrated, now the Washington Post, him and I went to high school together. So that's kind of my inside track. Ben bothered me for a while to get into this. I started doing my own analytics stuff at the kind of the forefront of the analytics movement in the NBA. That opened some doors. I met Mark Cuban and a couple other folks who introduced me to some coaches and some analytics folks, and on and on and on. It was a process of years. I dinked around with Blazers Edge before actually coming on board. I came on board in 2014, so that's 7 years now. Quickly after that, I hopped in a couple times with Dave on the podcast, and within weeks he asked me to take over the podcast with him. Phil went off and did his own thing, and then Dave and I had it for 2 years before Tara and I had it for 4. And it was just a lot of work. 2 years into the podcast, NBC came to me and asked me to try out for the show. I believe there's about 12 of us there. And Joe Shane and I hit it off, and that's kind of where everything took off. So it's pretty crazy. It's a long process. Sid Manro, thanks for the coverage, Dan. Hire me as your video intern. Listen, once I start building stuff up, I'll gladly take anybody who's serious about doing the work under this whole idea. I would love to take anybody under my wing if I can. That's how I got here. Turned into a jokes. Billups for life. Sorry you feel that way, Trevor. That's tough. I mean, you can have your own thoughts. I'm not going to throw you out of here, but that's just kind of how it goes. I'm sorry you've had I've never known anybody who's been unfairly tossed out of Blazers Edge. They have a pretty straight line of things. I've crossed the line a couple times and had to be warned and had a phone call or two from Dave. So, it's definitely something. Dude, of all this seems I was 3 years old sitting in the bleachers for Blazers practice at MJCC. Is that the Middleman Jewish Community Center? Because if it is, I played lacrosse there in high school and afterwards when I came home from the Air Force. Love that building. Back out to Lucas and Walton and Hollins. More than any single person, you made a huge impact on the experience. Listen, thank you. Again, that's awesome. That's what I want more than anything. As much as making money and that kind of thing, that's great. I want people to enjoy this. That's really what I want. Flip back over here real quick. The Knicks took Quentin Grimes. So we had Quentin Grimes at Hoop Summit a couple years ago. And it was disappointing to say the least. He definitely didn't look right. He had a rough year and kind of got himself right, and now he's back, at least as a first-round pick. I'm not sure if that's necessarily the right move right there, but we'll see. Can we start a writing campaign for you to take Neil's job? Listen, were some people like, I'm not smarter than that guy. He knows better. Da, 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 da. That's fine, but I would, in a heartbeat, I would take that job. I'd probably be terrible at it, but I would take that job handily, without question. There's no doubt about it. We're getting a little bit of a lull right here. Things are slowing down. So if you've got questions, get them in here. This is the opportunity to take them. I believe we're reaching that point in the night where things get a little bit weird. It's been a weird draft already, mostly because my mouth is starting to get dry because we're at 2.5 hours and we have been steady rocking over 150 the entire time, which it's so dumb. It's awesome. Thank you. So I'm going to take a look here at the draft, see where we sit. It looks like they had Grimes listed as best available at sixth best available, and he came off the board at 25. So you've got Springer there still. It's gonna be interesting to kind of see which way the draft goes from here. If we're gonna start hearing Blazers noise, I think this is where we start hearing if something's gonna happen. My phone's not going on. Okay. Don't worry, that isn't Blazers news. It's other news. I'm listening to you instead of the ESPN broadcast. It's been more enjoyable. Listen, if ESPN was missing one person that they currently have on the desk, I think that would be a lot more enjoyable. They've got some real. Smits is a really, really, really good dude and a smart guy. I've got an opportunity to talk to him at a couple different like scouting regions, mostly the Hoop Summit, and a couple other tournaments, the Les Schwab tournament. So, if you could buy in the middle of the second round for the Blazers, who would you target? It depends who's available. I think I would look at a big. A lot of people got really mad about Moses Brown being let go, and then him kind of catching on the Thunder and doing some things. I don't really get too crazy about that, but I would like to see them go add some guys on the back of the roster that will be a part of your team going forward. And the reason for that is you can have these guys that come through on their vet minimums, but they come and they go. They come and they go. If you get a second round guy, you can bring them up in your system a little bit, and it's one less person you have to worry about it with a vet minimum. You've got a little more control over a guy, and I think they've done decently enough with their development that's something they should look at. Josh Dollar, do you think it would make sense to send out both Ant and Nas with CJ? It brings back an all-star wing. Ooh, you're testing me with that one. Depends on the all-star. Jeff, thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it depends on the wing, man. I'll be honest. Ant and Nas, you're clearing out the cupboard at that point in time. And listen, I am fully invested in surrounding Damian Lillard with the right talent. But that's tough. If CJ isn't traded, we can't re-sign Powell. Are all avenues gone to retain Dame? Yeah, pack it up. I'll be clear. I don't think Damian Lillard is here next year. But this next season, yes. After this season, I'm talking 2022. Dry mouth is also part of what sucks about pain meds. Yes, it is, and I usually do a pretty decent job. I've already killed the energy drink, and now I'm on to the AHA sparkling water. And just in case that burned through, I had one more thing of sparkling water. So I am struggling but pushing through. But yeah, me personally, I've said this on the podcast. I don't think there's really anything Portland can do. Sans Dame convincing somebody in Tokyo to force their way out. I think that's the magic bullet, to be honest. Somebody else has got to cause a ruckus. That's the reality. What are the odds that the Dewald buys a second round pick? He drafts a point guard, shooting guard. I mean, that's typically what he does. But depends on what's available. I have joked that Neemias Queta is a guy that they could look at. He's a truck of a human being, just a massive dude. I think it would behoove them to go after guys with physical tools that you can count on to play in an emergency, break glass kind of situation. But what has to be given up for a second rounder? Cash. Cash is the bare minimum. And it can be, I remember when you're trading second round picks, this is always my favorite. Anytime you talk about value and stuff, Mo Harkless was traded for a top 55 protected second round pick from Orlando. That's what the Blazers gave up. So that means the pick could have been 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, and it would convey. Otherwise, it was top 55 protected. Otherwise, I think it either disappeared or turned into cash. So it was just kind of funny. That one always sticks in my head. He drafts a card, we riot. I don't think you necessarily riot about a second-round pick. Lottery pick? Yeah, you riot. CJ for Barnes and Bagley. Is that improvement? No, because it doesn't solve the shot creation issue. I like Barnes, and I think it's a good fit here. I just think you need to get something else with that. I mean, the dream is Halliburton. If you're talking about Sacramento, I love him. I think Rashawn Holmes is a reason you would look to trade Yusuf Nurkic. But Chris DeJesus, I'm sorry. You've asked about Malcolm Brogdon a couple times, and I didn't call it out. There's just been so many tonight. I love Brogdon personally. I don't think that there's a good fit for Portland in a trade. Like, Damon Brogdon is a better matchup than Damon CJ, in my opinion. But yeah, I love Brogdon as a player. The only issue I have with him is his health. Every now and then he picks up some nicks and bruises that last a little bit longer, but yeah, I love him. So there's that. That's all I can say. Is JaVale a true Tokyo tampering get? Sure. I can see JaVale in Portland. Lillard gone by trade deadline. I don't think so. I don't think that they moved Dame in season. I think they wait until the offseason and reassess. I think that bodes better for Damian Lillard's brand, too. And it allows the Blazers to take more time with making that happen. Brendan Wildermuth, depending on the spot of the pick, would you take a flyer on Alex Antetokounmpo? Yeah, I'll take a flyer on Antetokounmpo. I don't think there's any reason not to. I mean, genetically, it's a pretty strong family. Go get me Jaylen Brown. Listen, I love Jaylen. I've loved Jaylen since he came out after the first year. I wasn't sure what he was going to be. After I saw him in the NBA, I was pretty sold. Pretty sold on that. You think Holmes can actually draw a 4-year 80? I think it's going to get close. I think he ends up between 16 and 18. I think he gets Clint Capella-ish money. He's a hell of a player, man. He can shoot it. He can put it on the floor. He can be a good defender. He can play in space. He's just a good player. And he's been underpaid for a couple years, so they're probably going to try to max it out as far as his money. Dame staying after seeing Giannis win it all. Yeah, I could see it. I mean, I have a hard time believing that that's going to end up being the case. All right, we'll go ahead and boop. There we go. And we'll go ahead and get that out of here. It's always funny when these 12-year-olds come by. I typically don't acknowledge them, but it's like, go find something else better to do, man. Seriously, just go. Ned Spro, talk about how you evaluate the word around the league that the CJ value is now diminished in light of Dame comments. I don't think CJ's value necessarily diminished that much. I think CJ's value is CJ's value, and it has been that for at least a year, probably two. I think that's kind of the running power. Now, I think that the Dame comment stuff makes it more likely that executives put the screws to the Blazers, and how they really won't let him out of this corner because everybody wants their opportunity at Damian Lillard, and they think it's real. So as it pertains to Henry Abbott and the stuff that he reported or said, that's where I've said I believe there's smoke. I don't believe there's necessarily fire yet, but that's why I look at the Henry Abbott comments and I don't just outright dismiss them, because what Dame and his team have done, what CJ has done, what Janurk has done, they have taken exact points from Henry Abbott and shut those points down, but not the overarching theme. And if you listen to Mike Richmond and Locked On, he's hinted at kind of the same thing. And listen, this is not a. What's funny is those other guys that come in here and they try to throw things sideways. You want to talk about other people that do good work in this region. Richmond does a great job on the podcast. If people say that they want to go listen to Locked On, go. I'm going to have Mike on the pod. I'm going to go hop on his. That's kind of how it works. Good work recognizes good work. But as far as the CJ stuff goes, I think it's less about CJ because his value has kind of been what it's going to be for a while, and more about the overarching part of Damian Lillard and what that kind of reflects to the team. You think CJ's value has gone up now that Beal's reportedly staying in Washington? No. I don't think CJ's value is moving anywhere. I think it is kind of what it is. the whole idea with CJ, and if you followed me for any period of time, I've quite literally wanted to trade him for over 4 years. And there were times when those opportunities were there and the Blazers just would not do it. And I think that's a real problem. Yeah, SB, they were laughing at giving back money more than anything. They weren't refuting that Dame has looked at maybe going somewhere else. He flat out said in that press conference in Las Vegas that, hey, listen, man, it's a situation where I haven't made any decisions yet. That doesn't sound like a firm commitment. I don't think it's crazy by any stretch of the imagination to think that Damian Lillard might be looking at other situations. He basically said as much. James, basically the question you've got here is, what does it look like to trade Damian Lillard? And what happens after that? Everybody who's not on a rookie deal is therefore tradable. Dame, CJ, Nurk, Cove, Jones, everybody. They're all fair game. And they should be. You start taking on bad contracts for picks. And you start a 3 to 5 year window. You hope that you get a stud 22 years or younger in return for Damian Lillard. And then you kind of figure one out. Middleton CJ, I've seen that as far as like what offers I've heard for CJ over the years. Middleton CJ was a real thing 4 years ago. Teams looked at that. Paul George, whether or not you believe the Pritchard stuff, which I tend to, they would not offer anything out. They would not offer Dame, CJ, or Nurk in that trade for PG. Yeah, it's there have been offers. I've obviously been a firm proponent in 2017 of drafting Donovan Mitchell and trading CJ McCollum at that point in time. Drafting OG Anunoby in 2017, and then trying to figure things out from there. Bryce Schmidt, if Dame convincing someone to come to Portland is the magic bullet based off his relationship with the guys over there, who could potentially be that guy? Draymond. They have made no bones about them wanting to play with each other. And if you've watched them play off of each other in the Olympics, I made a joke the other day. Draymond said, he told Damian Lillard to shoot the damn ball, and they came out and played the way that they did. Shocking. But those two playing off each other in the dribble handoff series is, that's basketball sex. I'll be honest. Draymond, Bam, stupidly athletic, playmaking bigs, big wings, are the perfect players to put around Damian Lillard. That's what I'd love to see happen. How about LaVine at the trade deadline? No. LaVine's younger and better than CJ. Now, I proposed this, and I had heard... Now, Portland has talked to Chicago. They talked to Chicago about some people you may not believe they talked to him about in Chicago at the trade deadline last year. That's an interesting one. Maybe if something comes out of that, I'll talk about it one of these times. But LaVine has surpassed Dame, surpassed CJ in not only skill but value. That's just kind of the way it goes. If they had traded for him before, 2 years ago, I asked somebody, hey, would you... This is hilarious or sad, depending on how you look at it. Like I said at that point in time, I would unabashedly trade CJ and Zach. This is 2 years ago before Zach had the shoulder. CJ and Zach for Zach LaVine and Lauri Markkanen. And people said that's crazy. There's no way. I was like, you sure? I would very much do that trade right now. Yeah, that's. I don't want to do it. I don't want to talk about 2017. Draymond doesn't make us a championship contender. No, he does not. But he is a harder piece to come by than anything in this league other than a wing. I think that's the big thing. And we are almost at 3 hours now, and we're at 178 viewers between both platforms, between YouTube and Twitch. And I'm shocked. Awesome. The turnout has been incredible. My voice is about shot. I'm probably going to keep this going here for a little while longer, get into the second round. I'll probably take about a 5-minute break and come back. I need to get something to eat and go say hi to my wife and let her know that I'm still alive. This is the question I have. You hit on it here, Clark. Is Draymond losing any vitality yet? I am terrified. I feel like his athleticism is going to fall off a cliff any day. Now, he's not the most athletic dude in the world to begin with, but he relies on incredible IQ, timing, and quick twitch movements. I wonder what that platform looks like if he starts losing that. 3 to 5 year rebuild, do you really think we could do that here in PDX? Yeah, I do. Think about this for a second. After Brandon, Greg, LaMarcus, and you lose Brandon and Greg for nothing. 2006, 5 years later, 2011. Damian Lillard shows up next year. And it comes together real quick. When you can get into the top 6 regularly, 2, 3, 4 years, the talent's there. You got to land it. You can't kings it. Can't kings it. If you do that, you're going to be stuck there. You got to get the top high-end talent. Is there any also that can be traded for CJ? In my opinion, no. What would a trade between Portland and Golden State look like for Draymond? The straight across is CJ for Draymond, and you kind of figure that out. I don't think it's a good fit for either team. In my opinion, and the dollars works almost spot on, is Jones, Covington, and then one of the kids, either Nas or Ant, and a pick for Draymond. That's, I think, probably what Portland would hope to do, so you could keep Dame, CJ, Draymond, Nurkic. And I think then you're talking about a much higher floor ceiling. As much as I love Cov, Draymond's defense and like working as a captain of the defense is more valuable than Cov's help defense. His playmaking is what would unlock everything. You would have to find a hell of a shooter to put on the floor in between Dre and Nurk. But the passing would be stupendous. The playmaking would be incredible. The defense would be very good in the back, or excuse me, in the front court. It's a little weird, but I think you can make it work. It's part of the reason why I lean so heavily into Ben Simmons. I think that if you can convince him of some things, because even though he's not a shooter, his ability to get to the rim and create shots for others is unmatched, basically. He has led the league in three-point attempts created since he came into the league, and I think that's a drastically underrated ability. Even though everybody knows he can only score at the rim and will only shoot at the rim, he shoots 72% at the rim, and he creates a ton. Ned, I say Nasir has a very good chance to crack the starting lineup of Chauncey here. That's a pretty damn good lineup. Dame, Powell, Nas, Cov, Nurk. If CJ is here, CJ is not coming off the bench. I will say that unequivocally. CJ ain't coming off the bench right now. But if he's not, I like Nas. I think he can turn into a very, very solid rotation player. I think he has some tools that you can really work with. His shooting development by itself has been insane. Most guys don't improve or completely break down and rebuild their jumper like Nasir has in his time in Portland. It's very reminiscent of Wes Matthews. I had total mind blank right there. It was just, but yeah, I don't think anything there is too surprising. I'm going to get back to the draft here real quick because the 76ers are taking Jaden Springer at number 28. Depending on what board you looked at, he was all over the place. It's a little interesting. Now we might see, and Cam Thomas went 27, which is insane because I think he was mocked anywhere from like 9 to 25. So it's been a bit of a crazy draft. That's for sure. All I wish they would have gotten Vooch and signed Noel. The Blazers haven't drafted anybody yet, not in this draft. But the Blazers did have talks with the Bulls before the Bulls moved for Vooch. I think you can kind of draw the lines there, and what they got on their return and what they sent out. Kind of do the math there. Unrelated, I saw a question in here. We haven't talked much about Nurk as a trade chip. But he's a major injury liability. Does it make sense to move on from him while he's healthy? Yes, it does. I love Nurk. I love his game. I love what he can be. I love his attitude. I don't like the inconsistent finishing. I do like that he plays with a little bit of swagger. But he is an expiring deal. If you don't believe he's the guy, you should definitely explore moving him. You don't want to overpay because they're already in a situation where they're overpaying other guys. So, I genuinely believe that that's something they should look at. I saw another one in here. As a Michigan man, it hurts me deeply to need Draymond, but even worse, does Dre potentially try to get Dame to force his way to Golden State? Yeah, I think that more than Draymond are talking to Dame. There's plenty of lines you can draw there for sure. But yeah, shout out Sparty, Michigan State. I'm not anti-Michigan by any means. I love what Juwan's done there, and Charles Woodson's one of my favorite college football players of all time. So, what about Cat? Think we could get him? No. No. Cat on the open market with the years left he has on his contract. The haul that he would get, man. I mean, I know he hasn't played defense worth a damn, but offensively, he is a machine. Best three-point shooting big man of all time, probably right now. Like, legitimately, if you go look at his volume and his percentages, it's nuts. I saw some C.J. Simmons stuff. I don't think it happens. Number one, I don't think CJ's getting moved, and I definitely don't think it's for Simmons. It could change, but I don't think so. Most likely Blazer to be traded first. I think we just talked about him, Nurk. I think Nurk's the most likely candidate. He's also probably the easiest one to trade. $12 million is much easier to trade than $33 million. 26, 27 years old is a lot easier to trade than 30. You're less committal as a team that's taking him on than you are a team that's taking on, $100 million CJ McCollum. Let's go ahead and check the tweets here, make sure we're not missing anything. What's funny is that everybody's try that again. There we go. That dumped out. The idle time kicked in on the Zoom call there. I guess I could just switch it over to my native camera. That would make things a little bit easier. But, technical difficulties. Good times. What was I saying? Jeremy Grant. Listen, I think Jeremy Grant's probably one of the most gettable guys out there when you're talking about this group. But otherwise, yeah. It's, yes, I saved it. It's always entertaining when the technical stuff happens. That's actually I think the longest time I've gone solo on this. And we're approaching, like I said, 3 hours and 180 people. I guess I'll do this like once an hour. If you haven't already subbed to the channel, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on Twitch, scroll over, click the little sub button, support the channel in that respect. You don't have to turn on notifications or any of that. Listen, I appreciate those who do, but otherwise, cool. I like talking to you guys. It's been 3 hours now on draft night, and we've danced around and talked about a lot and hung out and just chilled. It's nice to get away from everything else right now and just chill, talk basketball, talk some hoop, Siakam would be amazing, but doesn't seem possible. Yeah, no, I pretty certain Siakam ends up going to Philadelphia. A likely package for Grant now, I don't know. The reason I talk about Jeremy Grant being available is because they're stuck in between two timelines. Grant can definitely teach guys how to be pros and being a part of the NBA, but I think they could also get something of value and help with the rebuild. I think Grant is just the right age to be able to split those age differences between being a veteran and being a young guy. I could be watching Big Brother now, but I'm still here. You're welcome. You're welcome. I know what Big Brother is, like, and not like the surveillance mindset, but like the TV show. Aren't they in like season like 50 or something like that? Something insane. You got soft doing TV, man. Listen, hey, I'll own that. That's how it goes. It's just going to take me a little bit more time with this stuff. What are the odds Neil just runs things back without Melo and Powell? I don't think Melo's coming back. I didn't say that. But the Powell thing, man, I'll be 100% honest. I have no insight into Powell's camp whatsoever. None. But as far as running it back, I'm starting to believe it's more and more likely, unfortunately. I would like to believe that there's other things out there, but I don't think that there is. Let's see. Day'Ron Sharp is off the board to the Nets. So, Greg Lesh, what are the chances that Nick Batum comes back? Non-zero. I think there's an actual opportunity there. If you guys haven't watched it, I'm going to wrap up the stream here in a little bit. I did just release this morning 5 targets for the Blazers for the wing opportunities. I have Nick listed. One of the things that pops up when you're talking about Nick, while Neil didn't necessarily love him, Dame does and did. He has consistently called him one of his favorite teammates. I think if you're trying to keep Damian Lillard happy, it's probably a good place to start. Bringing back somebody that he likes. Utah has traded number 30 to Memphis. Another pick for Memphis. Interesting. Also, something to keep in mind there is that number 30 is still a guaranteed pick. First round. Guaranteed contract. Any thoughts on if Collins comes back? I know I have not been the biggest Zach fan. It's not necessarily that I have any dislike or disdain for Zach, the player or the person. I think he was a poor pick at that position. I think they could have gotten him further away. I think they could have taken somebody better in that regard, but that does not mean I think Zach is trash or garbage. I have consistently said that I think Zach, pre-injury, was a rotation level big with some nice tools, which good guy to have. But his injuries are a real problem. He's a 7-footer with multiple ankle surgeries. That's scary hours. The Blazers can't invest anything in him. They can't. I unless he came back on a vet minimum, you can't invest anything in him. And I think a team like Oklahoma City, who has nothing to lose, would be better served to let him sit for basically another year and then see what they got at him, whether that be OKC, Orlando, Detroit. I think those are the kind of teams that you look at for him. And I hope he gets right, and I hope he gets the money because, like I said, big guys and feet, man, that's a problem. That's a problem. Not that we could have kept GT, that's understood, but losing GT for nothing would be pretty painful. Yes, it would. There are other reasons than just they wanted to get Norman Powell for moving on from Gary Trent Jr., but you have to work under the assumption that something else was going to be there in return, like a strong indication from Norman Powell's camp. Travis Heidi, would CJ for Miles Turner and TJ Warren make any sense? I mean, for the Blazers, hell yes. I talked to the Pacers. You couldn't get both those guys for CJ. Couldn't do it. Is LB worth anything in trades? No. He's not, to be honest, and it sucks. He's not really an NBA player right now. he's shown flashes. He had the Philly game, but I think once you're a college basketball player who's kind of playing in the NBA, you can be capable of having a decent night. But right now, he's just not a consistent NBA player. So that's kind of what it is. Batum equals Cobb, Lillard equals Rodgers. Yes, 100%. I actually made that exact comparison in the video. So you're right on line with what I was thinking there, Hunter. Quick aside, I grew up with Aaron Rodgers, so that's kind of where I drew that line. I've known Aaron since 3rd grade, so yeah, there was definitely front of mind when I was talking about that. And speaking of the same token, if the Blazers got Draymond Green, how much goodwill does that buy with Dame? I think that buys a tremendous amount of goodwill. Number one, you're putting the best player he's ever had around him. You could argue about that in LaMarcus Aldridge as far as fit, but yeah, it's something that you would definitely have to consider. Braden Tracy, would it make sense to just blow it up? Listen, you're preaching to the choir. If they genuinely think Damian Lillard is gone, thunk, fired into the sun, baby. Start the rebuild. I've been Team Tank for years. For years. The 15-16 season, I said tank it. 16-17, I said tank it. Tank it. You got to get more assets in the cupboard because you can't rely on Neil Olshey to land a big fish in free agency. You can't rely on him to land a big trade. You can't rely on him to keep the free agents that you need. So you need to have him drafting higher. So, I'd be interested in what Nurk's value is. Rotation level players and above slightly. There are teams that look at Yusuf Nurkic as a plus player because he does have plus aspects. The concern is the injury, and the consistency finishing. But he can fit a lot of different schemes. Not just straight drop, but a more of an aggressive drop. There are different versions of drop coverage. But it's you don't want him playing in a really aggressive coverage, that's for sure. He's just too damn big. Phil Beckner, Dame's trainer, says the Houston Rockets will not be attending NBA Summer League, but instead compete in the grind session and EYBL before the NBA regular season. Rocket starters will also be determined by number of Instagram followers, otherwise known as they got a young-ass team. Let's see. Will Rondé be back as a fill at the roster signing? Sure. I think he could. Rondé is a guy that has been linked to the Blazers, obviously not just as a 10-day guy and tied on, but it's something, once you're linked with Neil Olshey and the Blazers, you're forever linked. It's like a mark on your soul. And another question here, Rondé, yeah. Bunch of Rondé fans. What's the best you can get for Nas, Ant, and picks? Depends. Honestly. It genuinely depends on what you're looking for. It can get you some things. Let's see here. Kyrie Pascal swap. Interesting. I don't know if I would go that far, but hey, sure. So I guess the question is, what do the Kings and Cavs have that we could get for CJ? Yeah, I mean, that's... Yeah. I think we're getting to where we're repeating a lot of questions, and my voice is about done. I think we're going to wrap it up here. I may pop back on for a little bit if they do make a move. I'll be honest, I thought we'd be deeper into the second round right now because we're 3 hours in. I thought we'd be closer to where the Blazers might make a move, but it doesn't look like it's happening yet, and I'm about cooked. So, thank you, everybody. Thank you. And again, my plea, if you haven't already subscribed, please go ahead and do so. Like, rate, review, subscribe at Danny Marang on Twitter, at DMarang on Instagram. Obviously here on YouTube, youtube.com/Danny Marang. thank you. Thank you all so very much. We have held steady at over 170 pretty much the entire time, which awesome. Thank you. Again, if you weren't here for the beginning of the show when I had Brandon Sprague on, Brandon Sprague is my new co-host for the new podcast, Jacked Ramses, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network, something that I have alluded to for weeks now. I can officially say that it's done. Nice to say. So I'm stoked for what we have coming. Like I said, I do have Henry Abbott on the podcast next week, so look for that. You can get your mailbag questions in ahead of time. Always, I will recycle them into. I've got a spreadsheet that I drop them all into, and I do try to get everybody's questions in there. If I miss it, please reach out to me, DM me, like, hey, dummy, you didn't get my question in there. I try to work every single one of them in. Thank you all so much. Like, rate, review, subscribe, do all those things. And when the podcast drops, make sure you subscribe to the new feed. It is separate from the Blazers Edge feed. It will be featured on Blazers Edge, but part of my contract was I had to go and take a new feed. So, War Report TV, sorry you got in here a little bit late. They could have gotten in. They still could get in. There's still some guys on the board. It'll be interesting to see what the Blazers will do here. And again, thank you all so very much. 3 hours, 15 minutes, a long time for me to talk. So I'm going to go head out of here. I might pop back on if the Blazers do something. If not, follow on Twitter. Until next time, guys, thank you all so very much. Everybody who subscribed, everybody who's been a part of this tonight and going forward. Thursday nights, 7 p.m., and anytime we have breaking news, I'll be here and on Blazers Edge. I love you all so very much. Till next